subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Say it with your mouth, but it won't change anything. Just like you, Nami. Nami was about to say something when she was stunned by Luen's words. You must have a story, but we won't ask. Even if you told us what happened to you, we certainly wouldn't be able to understand how you feel right now. Just talking won't change what happened to you. But when you feel the time is right. Nami stared at Luen's face, which had a smile as bright as the sun. Just trouble us as much as you want, Nami. We will help you even if it costs our lives. We are already companions. Nami stared at Luen blankly. Luen then looked at Luffy and smiled. Right, Luffy? That's right. Luffy yelled. Luen's understanding of his companions is really to Luffy's liking. Zoro said nothing, but just smiled like a beast and straightened the Wado Ikamanji a little. This kind of behavior is also very much to Zoro's liking. Nami pursed her red lips, trying hard not to lose control of her emotions. Nami held Luen's hand on her shoulder and gently placed her forehead on it, as if she had found a support. With Monkey D, Luffy's strong approval, the bond has been enhanced, and the entry loading progress has increased. Superhuman physique, dark purple, loaded. A line of light screens appeared. Chapter 23. The cheater is activated. The ever-increasing dominance. Check the entry. Entries: Luen navigation, white; beast strength, blue; Superman constitution, dark purple; Conqueror's hockey, light gold; faction luck, super gold; born for the sea, super gold; Warcraft constitution, dark purple. Loading. Ghost aura, special. Loading. Sun god, super gold. Loading. Superhuman physique, dark purple, has been loaded. Luen felt that the food he had just eaten, which had not yet been fully digested, was now being digested by his body at an astonishing speed and then turned into nutrients that nourished his body. In addition, physical strength and power have been greatly improved in all aspects. A deep purple level combat entry. At this time, in addition to the Conqueror's hockey, Luen also has more means to fight the enemy. An entry of a higher level of the same type appears, and the beast's power, blue, automatically turns into nutrients. A line of light screen appeared again. This first blue entry obtained after the time travel has now completed its mission. Although blue items cannot be used as upgrade materials, the current situation is not to upgrade, but to use the same type of superhuman constitution, dark purple. Items to cover the low-level beast strength, blue, items that one already has. And with the help of the characteristics of the Superman constitution, dark purple, entry, the beast power, blue, is transformed into nutrients to nourish Luen's physique. However, this coverage only occurs once. If he subsequently sees a blue-level physical attribute, it will no longer be able to serve as nourishment. Only combat entries above the light purple level can be used to upgrade the superhuman physique, dark purple. Luen felt that his physical condition had improved slightly. Although there's a big gap between blue-level entries and deep purple-level entries, a small amount is still meet. At this time, Luen's physique alone was one blue item level higher than Luffy's. The gains from this battle against the buggy pirates were truly beyond Rune's expectations. Not only did he obtain Born for the Sea, super gold, but he also completed the superhuman physique, deep purple, loaded from Luffy. The loading of the Sun God, super gold, entry has also obviously made a small step forward. Next, we just need to wait until Zoro's Warcraft physique, dark purple, is loaded, and then we can complete Luen's idea. The physical potential can also reach the top in the world of One Piece. Luen clenched his fists, feeling the surging power, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. After the entries are loaded, Luen can use them perfectly, so there will be no situation where he cannot control the surging power. Thank you for your hospitality. We will take our leave now. Luen looked at Mayor Boodle. At this moment, what Luen couldn't wait to do most was to go swimming in the sea and feel the power of the Born for the Sea, super gold, entry. Call. Boodle suddenly stood up and bowed 90 degrees to Luffy, Rune, and others. I can't thank you enough. Thank you. Thank you for saving this town. Boodle burst into tears. Don't worry about it, just relax. Luffy responded with a grin. Seeing this, Luen also smiled and looked at Nami. Nami and Luen looked at each other and smiled as well. She understood that this was Luen telling her that they would not use the most useless words to comfort people, but would only take action. When she feels the time is right, as long as she opens her mouth, Luen and the others will really risk their lives to help her. Companion? Huh? Nami pursed her red lips. Let's sail. At the port, Nami tied Rune and his cruise boat together with a boat from the buggy pirates and sailed side by side. Luffy stood at the bow of the ship with high spirits and shouted, "Crash!" In response to Luffy, there were waves stirred up by Rune entering the water. Luen, what are you doing? The sea water will make me weak. Luffy dodged the sea water in panic and looked at Luen, who entered the water. I just wanted to go swimming. Luen laughed heartily in the sea. Comfortable, carefree. At this moment, Luen felt that every cell in his body was extremely refreshed. It is worthy of being an entry born for the sea. In the sea, it is like a fish in water. At this moment, Nami's eyes flickered as she looked at Luen, who was laughing happily in the sea. Luen in the sea gave her a completely different feeling. Free, confident, domineering. Many adjectives can be used to describe Luen at this moment. But to sum it up in one sentence, Luen seemed to be glowing in the sea at this moment. Born for the sea, Super Gold takes effect, the capacity is improved, and the strength of the conqueror's haki increases. Born for the sea, Super Gold takes effect, and the capacity is improved. However, Luen soon noticed something unusual. Except for the initial increase in the strength of the domineering aura, it only increased in capacity afterwards. Luen felt the changes in himself while swimming. Could it be Luen jumped out of the sea and returned to the boat? Breathe. Luen felt the energy of the sea in the breeze and took a deep breath. The capacity has been digested, and the strength of the conqueror's haki has increased. Rows of light screens appeared. I see. A smile appeared on Luen's lips. After all, this kind of equipment that increases through bug-level entries is not enhanced by using the blood and failure of the enemy in a similar way to raising insects. The entry for Born for the Sea, Super Gold, turns the originally untrainable capacity and Conqueror's haki into a power that can be trained and made stronger. So after exercise, digestion is needed. It is very easy to understand if we use the analogy of exercising. If you want to make your body stronger, then after exercising, you need to go through the process of eating, digesting, absorbing, and then strengthening. Similarly, if you want to make your domineering stronger by being born for the sea, Super Gold, you also need to go through this process. Born for the sea, Super Gold. Traveling in the sea, improving your own capacity, is like eating. If you want to become stronger after eating, it needs to be digested before it can be absorbed and used to enhance your dominance. No wonder Buggy was so confident, even arrogant, before eating the fracture fruit. Top warriors like Roger, even if they have the ability to surpass the ocean, are only domineering and not as arrogant as Buggy. The reason is that Buggy has not awakened the Conqueror's haki and is unable to digest the capacity increased by Born for the Sea, Super Gold, to enhance his haki. Therefore, some people are unable to fully control the abilities enhanced by Born for the Sea, Super Gold, and behave extremely arrogantly, like a fool. Born for the Sea, Super Gold. The full power of this entry can only be exerted after awakening the Conqueror's haki. However, although there is an extra digestion process, it has no effect on the speed at which Luen becomes stronger. After all, Luen is a human, not a fish, and it is impossible for him to stay in the sea for 24 hours. The digestion process is just the right time to rest. Feeling his domineering aura growing stronger, Luen's lips curled up slightly. This feeling is very good. Chapter 24. Evolution of Domineering. The next destination. In an area of the East China Sea, a ship flying the pirate flag of the Buggy Pirates was tied to another ship and sailing side by side. Luffy was very unhappy about the pirate flag of the Buggy Pirates, and he really wanted to have his own pirate flag. But the pattern of the pirate flag is painted on the sail, so if you want to sail, you can only unfold the pattern of the pirate flag. Luffy wanted to protest, but Nami's eyes instantly shut him up. Just like in the original story, Luffy left one of the bags of treasure to Orange Town for reconstruction, and Nami also gave Luffy a severe lesson. Although she taught Luffy a lesson, Nami was not really angry in her heart. Seeing what happened to Orange Town reminded her of her hometown, the Kokoja village that was violently ruled by Eren. It is also Nami's wish to help rebuild Orange Town. At the same time, Nami also had a deeper understanding of the differences between Rune and other pirates. Thinking of what Luen said to her, Nami's heart was filled with waves. Or should we rely on Luen and the others? But can Luen and others really deal with that monster Eren? She had almost saved enough money to buy her hometown of Kokoja village from Eren for 100 million Baileys, so there was no need to take such a risk. But can we really believe what Eren said? No, you can't think like that. Otherwise, why would she work so hard to earn 100 million Baileys? Nami held the nautical chart. Her eyes were a little dazed, and then she shook her head fiercely. Given the current situation, we should help these guys make some plans. There is no way to sail on the Grand Line based on the current situation. Sure enough, trying to travel the Grand Line on a ship like this is really a mess. After calming down, Nami looked at the nautical chart in her hand, then looked at the two small boats that were temporarily tied together, and said seriously, "I still need some companions." Luffy said as he sat on the bow of the ship and ate an apple. Not only the personnel, but also the equipment of this ship is insufficient to guarantee our safety. Nami put her hands on her waist. Yes, there must be musicians. Luffy totally agreed. Musician? Ha ha ha. When Zoro heard this, he couldn't help but burst into laughter. On the Grand Line, known as the Pirates' Graveyard, the most important thing is actually the musicians. Luffy's way of thinking is completely different from that of ordinary people. You idiot, Luen, tell me something. You also know how to sail, right? Nami was already used to Luffy's way of thinking by now, so she could only cover her head with a helpless look on her face, then looked at Luen. Breathe. At this time, Rune, who had already increased his capacity sufficiently through Born for the Sea, Super Gold, was feeling the energy of the sea in the sea breeze on the boat and digesting this capacity to enhance his domineering power. When he saw Nami's gaze, he opened his eyes. Relax, Nami. You're the navigator of our pirate group now. My navigation skills cannot compare to yours. You will decide the next route. Luen laughed. Because Nami has only joined temporarily and has not yet fully joined the Straw Hat Pirates, the attribute Luen on Nami cannot be loaded yet. Although Nami's climate perception, light gold, attribute is a non-combat attribute, Luen also desires it very much. After all, even the author himself said that Nami's powerful talent of being able to sense climate changes through her body, if combined with a thunder fruit, her combat power would probably surpass Zoro, ranking second in the Straw Hat Pirates. Without the thunder fruit, but only by obtaining Zeus, Nami's combat power can be improved so much. It is conceivable how terrifying it would be if one obtained the thunder fruit and added the climate perception, light gold, entry. Luen, whose target is the thunder fruit, naturally also hopes to obtain this entry. But Luen is not in a hurry. It is only a matter of time before Nami joins, and it is only a matter of time before he gets this entry. As for navigation, now that there is a navigator, Luen will completely leave the planning of the sailing route to Nami. What Luen needs to do now is to continue to become stronger. At this time, after Rune's Conqueror's Haki, light gold, entry continued to become stronger through the Born for the Sea, super gold. Entry, it also changed and a progress bar appeared. Conqueror's Haki, light gold, once you have mastered it, you can use powerful pressure to make the weak unconscious, light gold. Once you have mastered it further, you can use Conqueror's Haki to carry out entanglement attacks, dark gold. As long as this progress bar is filled up, Luen's domineering Haki will be automatically upgraded to the deep gold level. He is able to use Conqueror's Haki to perform entanglement attacks, which is the level of Yamato's Conqueror's Haki in the original work. Once it evolves to the deep gold level, then even if Luen relies solely on his Conqueror's Haki, his strength will leap to the level of the top-level vice captain. The power of the Conqueror's Haki is too overbearing. Even if it is only a deep gold level entry before the domineering haki is exhausted, relying on the domineering haki, even with the 4 emperors who use the domineering haki, they can still fight a few moves. Unlike other vice-emperors and admiral candidates, he was unable to withstand even a full strength attack from the 4 emperors. Anyone who can initially use the conqueror's haki to carry out entanglement attacks is definitely a strong contender for the title of the emperor's number 1. Although the upgrade progress bar is only moving forward slowly, at least Luen can upgrade his domineering power by relying on Born for the Sea, Super Gold. Other strong men in the world of pirates do not have such means, and can only rely on methods similar to raising goo, using the blood and failures of their enemies to slowly accumulate strength and thus make their domineering aura stronger. This kind of accumulation, which cannot be achieved through practice, is extremely time-consuming. Before Luffy, even strong men like Whitebeard and Gold Roger were basically over 40 years old when they had enough ability to fully master the Conqueror's haki, entanglement, and become the strongest men in the world. The strong men in the world of One Piece reach their peak strength at an age of even over 50. The current 4 emperors and the 3 strongest men on the sea are basically over 50 years old, except for red-haired Shanks, who is less than 40 years old. It is because the accumulation of ability is very slow. Only after years of polishing and countless victories in battles can one possess super strong dominance. However, Luen, who possesses the Born for the Sea, Super Gold attribute, does not need to accumulate slowly like this. He only needs to practice continuously to continuously enhance his Conqueror's haki until he fully masters it. The more Luen used this term, the more satisfied he became with it. Well, a little further south, there's an inhabited island. It would be nice if we could get a decent boat there. Nami looked at the nautical chart in her hand and planned the route carefully. Then go there and eat meat. Luffy raised his hands in celebration. Don't forget the wine either, Zoro reminded. You guys. Nami immediately transformed into her fanged image once again. South. Luen's eyes looked into the distance. Luen had already seen it. That place was Ziliobu Village. Besides being Usopp's hometown, it is still the pirate ship that has fascinated countless pirates on the Blue Planet, the birthplace of the Merry. After obtaining the superhuman physique, Deep Purple, what Luen needs most now is a pirate ship with complete facilities and a chef. After all, only a pirate ship with complete facilities can store meat rich in nutrients. A small boat like this can only store some fruits for sailing on the sea. Eating fruits alone will not enable you to exert the ability of Superman's constitution, Deep Purple, to strengthen your body. Luen closed his eyes again, digesting the increased capacity gained from Born for the Sea, Super Gold, and continued to strengthen his Conqueror's haki. Chapter 25, West Rob Village, Usopp, Ziliobu Village on the outer coast. The Straw Hat Pirates slowly approached the shore here. Finally, we've reached the shore. Zoro stretched his muscles. After sailing on such a cramped little boat for so many days, his muscles and bones became numb. I think it's okay. Luen smiled, but said nothing. The process of sailing in the sea and improving the Conqueror's haki is very wonderful. After obtaining the Born for the Sea, Super Gold, entry and becoming the darling of the sea, even if you are sailing on a small and cramped boat on the sea, you won't feel uncomfortable at all. Who is as good a swimmer as you are? Hearing this, Zoro looked at Luen with a twitching mouth. Zoro watched Luen swimming in the sea and went into the sea to compete with him, but naturally he was defeated miserably. Luen swam for a considerable part of the voyage. Go in from here and you'll reach the small village. Nami held up the nautical chart and pointed to the ramp ahead. So, can we eat meat now? Meat. Luffy excitedly rushed to Nami's side. Can you please think less about me? Nami dodged Luffy, who began to drool at the thought of meat. There should be a bar too, so we can have a nice drink. Zoro also smiled. You guys are really... Nami's mouth twitched. Thank you for your hard work, Nami. One looked at Nami and smiled. Luen. Nami was suddenly touched. Look at Luffy and Zoro. One only knows how to eat meat, and the other only knows how to drink. Only Luen remembered her good sailing skills. But it seems that going to that village is not so smooth. Luen looked at the grass on the hillside and smiled faintly. It is indeed the presence of a human. Zoro's eyes narrowed, and the Wado Ikamanji was slightly unsheathed. Where? Luffy looked around for someone. Donji! Zoro suddenly shouted. Then, a rain of marbles hit Luffy's feet, forcing him to dodge in a panic. Swish! Swish! Then, many pirate flags with skulls painted on them rose from the grass. Huh, that's amazing! Luffy looked at these pirate flags, which were small but had very domineering skulls painted on them, and he immediately shouted excitedly. Luffy has always wanted his own pirate flag. Is this the time to admire others? Nami looked at Luffy speechlessly. Ha ha! I'm Usopp, the leader of the great pirate group that reigns over this village. People praise me highly, call me our captain, Captain Usopp. Under the highest pirate flag, a long-nosed young man stood there, pointing at his long nose and shouting. Usopp had been lying to the villagers in Syllabu village about the pirates coming. As a result, just after finishing the fixed mission for the day, his subordinate, Onion Head, brought news that he had seen a pirate ship. After learning that there were only 4 pirates, Usopp brought his subordinates, Pepperhead, Radish Head, and Onion Head, here to set up an ambush in order to protect the village of Ziliuobo from being invaded by pirates. But when he heard the word pirate group, Luffy's excited smile suddenly disappeared, and he looked at Usopp with the corners of his mouth turned down. If you want to attack this village, I advise you to give up, because my 80 million men will not let you go. Usopp continued to boast. Swish! As Usopp's boast fell, more pirate flags emerged from the grass. Skay! Luffy, who believed everything others said, screamed loudly. Seeing that the guy below believed it so easily, Usopp suddenly felt a little proud. Is it a lie? But the next moment, Nami's chuckle broke Usopp's pride. Oh no, we've been found out. Usopp yelled, holding his head. You don't think that 80 million subordinates can fool people, do you? Luen looked at Usopp in amusement. How many people are there in the entire East China Sea? Damn it, the enemy has a military advisor. Usopp looked at Luen, holding his head and yelling. 80 million may be a bit exaggerated, but I still have capable subordinates. Usopp quickly calmed down and pointed at the bushes behind him. Those pirate flags moved up and down due to the actions of Green Pepper Head, Radish Head, and Onion Head, creating the illusion that there were a lot of people. There are 3 of them. Nami smirked. It's been discovered. Run. The 3 children, Green Pepper Head, Radish Head, and Onion Head, were so scared that they ran out and ran away. Don't run. Usopp immediately cried out that something was wrong. Ha ha, you're so funny. Luffy looked at Usopp and laughed. Don't underestimate me, you bastard. I am a man with a very strong sense of self-esteem. Because of this, people call me Proud Usopp. When Usopp heard Luffy's laughter, he suddenly became angry and took out his slingshot and pointed it at Luffy. When Luffy saw Usopp take out his weapon, his smile disappeared and he put his straw hat down. As you saw just now, my slingshot skills are much better than ordinary pistols. Usopp also hopes to drive these pirates away with words. Now that you've drawn your gun, you're risking your life. Luffy raised his head slightly, and under his pressed straw hat, a fierce look flashed in his eyes. What? Usopp was a little frightened. I mean, this thing is not a toy. Now that you have drawn your gun, you are risking your life. Luffy gave a classic villain look, and Luen gave Zoro a look. Snort. When Zoro saw Rune's eyes, he immediately understood. Then he placed his hand on the Wado Ikamanji, revealed the blade, and looked at Usopp. The one standing before you is a real pirate. Zoro also showed an evil look. Are you ready to risk your life? Luen also showed an evil look, and the corners of his mouth curled up in a domineering arc. Today, Luen possesses the aura of a strong man. Just standing here can make a pirate of Buggy's level feel that Luen is terrifyingly strong. The terrifying feeling of oppression instantly overwhelmed Usopp. Bang! The pellets from Usopp's slingshot fell at his feet. As expected, the words and aura of a real pirate are extraordinary. So impressive. Usopp's forehead was covered with sweat. What confused Usopp was that the next moment, Luen and the others looked at each other and burst into laughter. I learned it on the spot. I learned from the words of the pirate Shanks, whom I respect. Luffy held up his straw hat, smiling broadly. Shanks, do you know the great pirate Shanks? Usopp looked shocked. Yes, your father is Jesus Boo, right? Luffy then laughed. Why? Usopp was so shocked that he rolled down the hill. Rune at the side had a strange smile on his face. Usopp and Jesus looked very similar, with a network of looks. Even Luffy remembered them clearly. It was a common practice in the world of One Piece. Chapter 26. Courage is the hymn of mankind. Hee delicious. Luffy, who was invited by Usopp as a guest, picked up a piece of meat, took a big bite, and shouted. Luen, who was standing by, was also eating rapidly. Luen, who has already acquired the physique of a Superman, dark purple, has an appetite that is no worse than Luffy's. Not only Luffy, but Luen is also getting tired of eating apples. Moreover, the nutrients in these meats can be quickly absorbed through the superhuman physique, deep purple, strengthening Luen's physique. It's delicious, right? I didn't expect you knew my dad, Luffy. Usopp smiled happily. He was very happy to hear the news about his father Jesus. I saw him when I was a kid, and you look exactly like him, so I recognized you the moment I saw you. Luffy said as he ate the meat. It turns out my dad is on the ship of that great pirate Shanks. Usopp's face was full of longing. By the way, your father is a really good shot. Luffy also showed a look of nostalgia in his eyes. I have heard so much about you from Jesus that my ears are almost calloused. Jesus is an excellent pirate. Luffy laughed. Yeah, I'm really proud of my dad who risked his life to go to the sea regardless of the consequences. Usopp looked proud. Check the entry. At this time, Luen, who had finished eating all the meat on the table, had time to check Usopp's entry. If I hadn't eaten quickly, Luffy would have eaten all the meat. Entries: Usopp Slingshot Sniper, light purple. Inventor, light purple. Hymn of Courage Special. Slingshot Sniper, light purple, possesses a strong sniping talent and uses a slingshot for sniping, which is even better than using a firearm. Inventor, light purple, possesses outstanding inventive talent and is able to invent a variety of items. Slingshot Sniper, light purple, is a combat item, just like Superman, dark purple. The currently displayed entry level is only related to the overall combat power that Usopp's current sniping ability can reflect. It has nothing to do with the upper limit of Usopp's sniping ability that he can reach in the future. As for the snipers in the One Piece world, the combat power displayed by sniping ability alone will not be very high. After all, the power of firearms in the One Piece world is useless to the real strong. Usopp, who has not been trained yet, still needs the special ammunition invented by the inventor, light purple, to have light purple level combat attributes. A super strong sniper, whose combat power is limited by his domineering power. So even though he doesn't have haki yet, he already has a light purple level sniping ability, which proves that Usopp's sniping talent is not inferior to that of his father Jesus. Of course, it doesn't mean that sniping ability is not important. The control of domineering is difficult, and you have to attach it to the bullet to accurately hit the enemy. The stronger the domineering, the more difficult it is to sniper. Only with super sniping ability can you accurately hit the enemy with bullets attached with super domineering power. The same applies to Usopp's later use of special plants for sniper attacks. Only with super sniping skills can he accurately snipe those special plants to the right position and cause the greatest damage to the enemy. Even if there is a sniper with observation haki, it is still the same. After all, although observation haki can tell the sniper the target's location, being able to see, it does not mean that you can hit it. To hit the target accurately, you still have to rely on sniping skills. Inventor, light purple, is a non-combat entry similar to navigation. The entry level displayed is based on Usopp's current invention ability. In the future, as Usopp's abilities become stronger, these two attributes will be upgraded accordingly. But even so, Usopp's attributes at this time are just mediocre compared to Luffy and Zoro. But the last special entry is completely different. Luen narrowed his eyes. Hymn of Courage. Special cowardice is the nature of living things, but courage is the hymn of mankind. A person who is born timid and cowardly, but at the critical moment, can sing the hymn of courage of mankind. He can exert a force far beyond his own strength and turn the tide of the battle. Luen looked at this entry with admiration in his eyes. Usopp is timid and cowardly by nature. It can even be said that among the 3 cowardly members of the Straw Hat Pirates, Usopp is essentially the most timid and cowardly. After all, even the negative ghost of the ghost fruit can't make Usopp depressed. Because Usopp is extremely timid and depressed, even the devil fruit is of no use to him. Compared with Zoro, Luffy, and others, Usopp's personality is indeed very unlikable. But this is not Usopp's fault. After all, this is innate and is in his genes. Usopp cannot change it at all. What is valuable about Usopp is that he is able to overcome the defects in his genes and sing the hymn of human courage at the critical moment. And for Usopp, who is extremely timid and negative by nature, to be able to perform like this is even more valuable than for an ordinary person who is not so timid. His lifelong dream is to become a brave warrior on the sea, and Usopp has proved his ability with his actions. Luen also approves of such a man. Since you two know each other, it's easy to talk about it. I wonder if I can find a partner who can sail a boat and get a big boat in your village. Nami smiled and looked at Usopp. As you can see, this is a small village. I'm afraid you will be disappointed. Usopp's eyes were a little evasive. There's a big villa on the hill, Zoro suddenly said. Usopp's expression suddenly changed. Nami accurately captured this change. Hey, is he Usopp's friend? Can I ask him to help with some money? Nami's eyes narrowed with laughter. That's not okay. Usopp seemed to be stressed and spoke loudly. Luffy and others looked at Usopp in surprise. Well, I suddenly remembered something. I'm very familiar with the boss here. You guys can enjoy your food and drinks. I'm leaving first. Bye. Usopp ran away. What's wrong? You look flustered. Nami looked at Usopp's departing back and felt a little strange. Luffy then ate his apple. What's going on? Just go and take a look and you'll know, right, Luffy? Luen's mouth curled up slightly. That villa belongs to Usopp's friend, Kaya. And in that villa, there's a pirate hiding with a bounty of 16 million berries, named by G. Crow. With this kind of bounty, plus the performance in the original book, CLO should have purple combat attributes on him, which can be taken away for upgrading. No matter how small a mosquito is still meat. They are about to enter the Grand Line, and Luen will not let go of the opportunity to become stronger. That's right, Luffy smiled. Post views, 3 Chapter 27, 100 Strategies Chloro. In Ziliuobu Village, at the entrance of the most conspicuous villa, Luen and others came here with Usopp's 3 subordinates, Pepperhead, Carrot Head, and Onion Head. They came when Rune and the others were about to leave the restaurant, and they thought that their captain Usopp had been killed by these pirates. After learning that Luffy and Usopp's dad knew each other, the 3 kids brought a few people here. Luen was also happy to have someone to lead the way. It's so big, Luffy exclaimed as he looked at the villa in front of him. It is indeed very large. Luen nodded. It's no wonder that CLO had his eye on such a large and luxurious villa, as it could be built in such a poor little village. If the captain disappears at this time, he must be here. Onion said. What is he doing here? Luffy asked curiously. To deceive people. Carrot Head said. How can this be possible? Nami thinks Usopp has corrupted the child. It's not impossible, it's great. Carrot Head retorted. What's going on? Zoro is also a little curious. Miss Kaya, who lives in this villa, is weak and sickly. She has been depressed since her parents passed away a year ago. Even if she is rich, there is no sadder thing than this. So the captain entertained her with his famous bragging stories. The 3 children looked at each other and started talking. I see, that guy is great. Luffy thought. So, is the young lady feeling better? Nami's impression of Usopp also changed greatly. Much better. Onion Head looked proud. Okay, then let's go and ask her if she can give us a boat. Luffy raised his hands and grinned. Hey, the fact that her illness has improved is all thanks to Usopp. Zoro crossed his arms and looked at Luffy. The young lady's health can get better, which has nothing to do with them, so why should they ask her to build a boat for them? I'll go and ask for help. Luffy simply grabbed the fence of the villa. Rubber. Luffy's arms suddenly stretched out. Hey, you. Zoro and others quickly grabbed Luffy. There was a strange look on Luen's face as he grabbed Zoro. "Excuse me." Luffy suddenly let go, and the elastic force of the stretched rubber bounced everyone into the air. Ah! Ha ha ha. That's it. We successfully escaped from that giant goldfish. After leaving Rune and the others, Usopp came here, stood on the tree outside the window of the villa, and boasted to Kaya, who was standing in the room. At this time, Usopp came to an end to his bragging story. "What is that?" The girl with golden hair, pretty face, but obviously weak complexion, suddenly pointed to the sky. "The eldest daughter of this villa, Kia." Usopp looked in the direction Kaya pointed and his eyes widened. People falling from the sky. Bang! With a loud bang, Luen and others landed. "Safe landing," Luffy said as he landed on his face. "That's strange." Nami turned into a fanged figure and roared. And if Luen hadn't protected her, she would have thought she was going to die. "Hey, Luen, you guy." Zoro also lay on the ground, his mouth twitching as he turned his head with difficulty to look at Rune and Nami sitting on his back. Sorry, Zoro. You have a stronger physique," Luen said insincerely. "I saw Luen sitting on Zoro's back, using Zoro as a buffer zone, while Nami was hugged by Princess Luen. Luen, who had long known that Luffy was unreliable, captured Zoro at the first opportunity. Anyway, Zoro has the physique of a demon beast, deep purple, and this impact can help him strengthen his body. Thank you, Luen." After scolding Luffy, Nami looked at Luen, who was holding her, and pursed her red lips. It seemed like Luen would protect her every time. In Orange Town, Luen said he would risk his life for her, which made Nami's heart surge. Well, what Luen said about risking his life for his companions was automatically beautified by Nami from her perspective. "If you want to hug me, go somewhere else. I'm still down there." Zoro, who was used as a buffer zone, had a twitching mouth. Swish! Nami's pretty face turned slightly red, and she jumped out of Luen's arms. "Zoran." Luen patted Zoro's shoulder. "Next time, let's practice alone." Luen's face was full of smiles, but it made Zoro feel a chill and shiver. "Are you all right?" At this time, Kia looked at Luen and others with a concerned look on her face and spoke. It's okay. They all came here because of my reputation. They are the new members of the Usopp Pirates." Usopp explained with sweat on his forehead. "Rune and the others are real pirates. Although Usopp knows that they are good people, if their identities are exposed, it may cause misunderstandings among the villagers. No, I'm asking for something." Luffy climbed up from the ground holding his straw hat and looked at Kaya. "You want something?" "From me?" Kaya looked curious. We want a big boat." Luffy looked honest. "Hey, you guys." At this moment, a shout was heard. Luen and the others looked over and saw a man dressed as a butler slowly approaching. "Bai Yi, slow?" Luen thought to himself. Check the entry. Chapter 28. Unexpected Harvest. Items: Claw Cat's Claw, light purple. Silent Step, light purple. Special move Spoon, dark purple. Cat's Claw, light purple. The powerful finger strength combined with the weapon 10 blades Cat's Claw is quite powerful. Silent Step, light purple, an assassination technique that uses cat-like footsteps to move at high speed. Special move Spoon, dark purple. Crow's strongest move, the indiscriminate attack of Silent Step, light purple, using high-speed movement and the cat claws, light purple, on the hands to attack, can kill a large number of enemies. The speed of this move is comparable to the shaving of 6 styles. The disadvantage is that after launching it, you have no idea who you are attacking. Special move entry? This was the first time Luen had met him. After carefully reading the interpretation of the strongest entry system, Luen understood. The so-called ultimate move is to allow its own combat power to undergo a qualitative change, and new entries will appear. For example, CLO, his Silent Step and Cat Claw are both light purple level items, but when he uses his strongest move, the Spoon, he can reach deep purple level combat power. As for why there is no entry for Luffy and Zoro's so-called special moves, because Luffy has not yet developed the second and third gear abilities, and Zoro has not yet comprehended slashing steel and has not even entered the realm of the swordsman. At this time, Luffy and Zoro's so-called special moves only exerted their 100% combat power, and there was no qualitative improvement in their combat power level. However, if you plunder Chloe's entries, after plundering the special move Spoon, Dark Purple, Silent Step, Light Purple, and Cat Claw, Light Purple will automatically become ineffective. After all, it is the combination of these two entries that has resulted in this Deep Purple level special move entry. In other words, you will only get one Deep Purple level combat entry from CLO, but is also a big profit. After all, Deep Purple level entries are one level higher than Light Purple level entries. This situation has exceeded Luen's expectations. Who is this guy? Luffy looked at Chloe, who was using a strange posture, pushing up his glasses with only his palm. Miss Kaya's housekeeper, Krabatel. Crow spoke calmly. Then his eyes became sharp. Can you please leave? Or do you have anything to say? CLO said as he walked towards Luen and the others. Well, we want a boat, Luffy said with a smile. No, CLO suddenly shouted. Usopp, I often hear about you. You are a big topic in the village. Crow looked at the big tree, and Usopp hid behind the tree the moment Crow appeared. Really? Am I that famous? Seeing that he was discovered, Usopp simply crawled out from behind the tree. I heard that you often go on adventures, right? You're so young. That's really amazing. Chloe sneered. You can also call me Captain Usopp. Usopp's nose turned up. Captain. When Chloe heard the word, he pushed his glasses up with his palm. I've heard rumors about your father, too. Usopp's face turned ugly after hearing what Kuro said. Stop it, Krabatel. Kaya also knew Usopp's life story and tried to stop Kuro from talking any further. You're nothing but the son of a dirty pirate. I wouldn't be surprised at anything you do, but please stay away from my lady. But Chloe ignored him and shouted. Luffy's eyes started to look strange. You said dirty things. Usopp's expression turned extremely ugly. Tis how. But just when the two sides were on the verge of a fight, a sneer was heard. What are you laughing at? CLO's eyes narrowed. Luffy and the others were also a little surprised why Luen suddenly sneered, but Luffy and the others who believed in Luen just watched Luen take a step forward. Are you too into the show? The bounty of 16 million berries. Captain of the Black Hat Pirates. 100 strategies Crow. Luen raised the corner of his mouth and sneered. Crow's expression suddenly turned gloomy. What? Is this guy a pirate? His bounty is 16 million berries? Higher than Buggy's. Luffy looked at Kuro in surprise. Baiyi, Kuro? I seem to have heard of this name, but wasn't it said that he was executed by the Navy a long time ago? Usopp's forehead was covered with sweat. Even if you're Usopp's friend, this is too much. Kuya pursed her lips and spoke loudly to Luen. That's right, I don't know what you're talking about. That CLO was executed by the Navy a long time ago. Chloe pushed his glasses up with his palm. I will produce evidence. Luen looked at Kia and smiled gently. Luen was not angry at all about the tantrum of this cute little girl. Kaya has been weak and sickly since childhood. The pain and powerlessness made her often lose her temper when she was in very uncomfortable condition. But Kaya herself was extremely kind, and after her health improved a little, she returned to her gentle and kind nature. Kaya was just deceived by CLO. Then, Luen looked at CLO. Are you an idiot? You're hiding and just changing your name? You don't even change your appearance. Luen took out CLO's bounty order. This bounty was obtained in Shields Town. Monka, relying on the so-called merit of capturing 100 stratagems Clo, took this as an opportunity to be promoted step by step to the colonel of the branch in Shields Town. In fact, it was CLO who could not stand the pursuit of the Navy, so he asked Zhang Ao to use hypnosis to make Monka think that he had caught CLO. Then a fake CLO was found and executed by the Navy. CLO hid here and worked as a housekeeper. His purpose was to safely obtain Kaya's family's property. However, the hypnotized Monka always regarded catching by GCLO as his greatest achievement in life. Given Moncana's personality of caring about his own achievements and even wanting to erect a statue for himself, with the entry system, it was very easy for Luen to find this bounty in Shields Town. It's exactly the same. Nami looked at the bounty in Luen's hand and compared it with CLO. Krabatel. Kuya also saw the bounty order, but still couldn't believe it. People who look similar are not uncommon on the sea. Chloe deadpanned. Really? I hope you can be so calm later. Luen looked at CLO. A domineering arc appeared on the corner of his mouth, and red and black flashed suddenly in his eyes. Boom! A terrifying aura roared out from Luen's body and swept across CLO's body. CLO's pupils suddenly shrank, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. The next second, his eyes rolled up and he fell to the ground. Domineering and overlord. Even if the bounty is 16 million, the so-called big pirate, that's only in the East China Sea. In front of Rune's domineering aura, they're all called trash. Krabatel, Kaya exclaimed. Don't worry. He just fainted temporarily. Luen said calmly, and then said in his heart, Plunder. Chapter 29. Everything was taken away. Plunder. Luen looked at CLO, his eyes fixed. Buzz. A purple light that only Luen could see flew out from CLO's body and was caught by Luen. The plunder was successful, and the entry for the ultimate skill spoon, dark purple, was obtained. In the next moment, gulp, gulp, Chloe's muscles began to twist strangely as he fell in a coma, and then he lost his strength as if a balloon had been deflated. As the strength attributes are plundered by Luen, the power of the plundered person will also be lost. What's wrong with him? That's weird. Nami felt a chill in her heart when she saw this scene. I got something from him. Luen smiled faintly and spoke. Let him wake up, Usopp. One looked at Usopp. Okay. Usopp was stunned for a moment, then ran towards the unconscious crow. Wake up. The ground is cold, don't catch a cold. Although Usopp said that he cared, he did not hold back at all. What Usopp could not tolerate the most was speaking ill of his father. Under Usopp's torment, Crow slowly woke up. Krabatel, are you okay? Kaya still couldn't believe that the butler who had taken care of her for 3 years was a pirate. Are you awake? By G. Crow, no. Even if you admit that you are by G. Crow now, you can't do it. One looked at CLO and smiled faintly. What kind of power is that, huh? Chloe was still in shock from the impact of the domineering aura. Then he shook his head violently, and suddenly his pupils shrank. My power, CLO looked at his hands in disbelief, then tried hard to stand up, but his legs went weak, and he fell to the ground. It's normal to temporarily lose control of your weakened body after losing your strength. Relax. Luen showed a wicked expression. What did you do to me? For the first time, CLO completely lost his composure and yelled at Luen. By Jikro, bounty of 16 million berries. Most unique fighting style is the so-called silent step, an assassination technique that uses fast-moving footsteps like a cat. Luen said as he performed the silent step. Although he had directly snatched the spoon, dark purple, he could naturally do it by performing the silent step alone. My silent step's cold sweat broke out on CLO's forehead. His power was taken away. Shug, what a fast speed. Have you ever been so fast before, Luen? Luffy's eyes widened. What have you done? Give me back my power. At this moment, Chloe no longer cared about hiding his identity and yelled at Luen in a loss of composure. Without strength, let alone inheriting the property and living safely, he will die tomorrow. According to his plan, the Black Cat pirates will come here tomorrow, massacre the place, and then let Kaya write a suicide note, leaving all her property to him. As the former captain of the Black Cat pirates, Crow knows too well the personalities of those scumbags in that pirate group. Among them, many would not accept him as the former captain who changed his identity and disappeared for 3 years. The previous powerful strength gave us the confidence to put this plan into place. But now that he has lost his power, the first thing those guys from the Black Cat Pirates will probably do is kill him. You really are by G. Crow. Usopp suddenly became nervous when he saw Crow admit it. How could? Kaya covered her mouth and looked at CLO in disbelief. But the facts were right in front of her. Kaya was kind and not really stupid. Kaya naturally understood the current situation. Krabatel was really the great pirate. 100 strategies, Crow. Don't be nervous, Usopp. I have taken away all his power. Even you can easily kill him now. Luen sneered at CLO. Chloe has quite a talent, as he was able to develop a skill similar to the 6 styles of shave by himself in the East China Sea. However, because he was tired of being hunted by the Navy and bounty hunters, he chose to fake his death to hide his identity. That would have been fine, But he also sneaked in here and worked as a housekeeper for 3 years, hoping to inherit the Kaya family's property legitimately and live a stable life. This kind of behavior of being a whore and pretending to be a virtuous woman is extremely shameful. You're so powerful when you can also take away other people's power. Is that the ability of the devil fruit? Luffy looked at Luen in surprise. No, this is my natural ability. It has nothing to do with the devil fruit. Luen had no intention of hiding his abilities, not only because he lives with Luffy and others day and night. He can't hide it even if he wants to, but it may cause estrangement and slow down the progress of loading entries on Luffy and others. Moreover, under the domineering power system, if one deliberately hides his own abilities and pretends to be a pig to eat the tiger, he will eventually become a pig, such as Blackbeard, who was hiding in the Whitebeard pirates. If Blackbeard had not encountered the dark fruit, who had already become a pig waiting to die because of his hiding of himself and whose character had been shrinking, and who had thought it would be a good idea to spend the rest of his life on Whitebeard's ship, he would have become a pig that only cared about eating and waiting to die. Moreover, sometimes the exposed combat power intelligence is not a weakness, but a terrible deterrent. Only when the ability praised by the sea is stronger and more terrifying can one obtain a stronger name, possess a stronger capacity, and create a stronger domineering aura. With Luffy's strong network of relationships, he would never encounter pirates or navy that he couldn't deal with. How can one claim to have the magnanimity to stand tall in heaven if one still tries to conceal one's ability to plunder the power of others? Besides, one would not publicize his abilities all over the world. The magnanimity of a king and stupidity are two different things. The abilities that Luen displayed, and what others saw, were only the surface of Luen's true abilities. By the time Luen took the initiative to reveal more information about his own combat power as a deterrent to enhance his own reputation, Luen had already become the strongest man in the world. By that time, the combat power information that Luen voluntarily revealed would be the most powerful deterrent to the sea, and would also make Luen more domineering. Just like the 4 emperors today, who among the truly powerful men in this sea doesn't know their combat power information? But how many people dare to challenge the 4 emperors? On the contrary, their great reputation makes the 4 emperors more domineering. In such a showdown between the strongest men, in the end, it all comes down to dominance. So what if you know the information? Domineering. Only then can you be above everything. Luen, who possesses the born for the sea, super gold, attribute, has absolute confidence. You are a terrible guy, Luen. The ability to directly take away other people's power is so incredible that even Zoro feels a chill in his heart. Fortunately, Luen is their partner. Transformation. Luen gave the order at this time, after demonstrating his strength and proving CLO's identity. This uncontrollable attack method is of no use to Luen, and it would be better to use it to strengthen the existing entries. Conversion successful. Obtain the number of strength-related deep purple level entries. 1. A line of light screens appeared. It's over, Chloe. Luen looked at CLO with an evil expression. Wait, I want to say something. CLO looked at Luen walking towards him, horrified. At this moment, CLO was like a dog that had lost its home. Everything was taken away from him by the man in front of him. Chapter 30. Usopp's Awakening. Entries updated. Don't kill me. I have information to exchange with you. CLO was no longer as calm as before, and his face was full of fear. Only those who have truly experienced having their power completely plundered by Luen can understand that kind of despair. All the efforts and strength gained through years of training and fighting were completely taken away in the blink of an eye. All that was left was a broken body that could barely stand. For pirates, having their power taken away means having everything taken away from them. Monster. Chloe could not even stand due to the sudden loss of strength. He slumped to the ground and looked up at Luen with a look of horror. He didn't even dare to look into Luen's eyes. He was a famous pirate in the East China Sea, but he had never seen a monster like this. No matter if it was before, when this man only glanced at him and he felt an irresistible force sweeping over him and fainted, or now, This man had taken away everything from him by unknown means. In front of this man, CLO was just like an ant that could be stepped on to death at any time. He was not qualified to look this man in the eyes. Now, completely frightened, CLO just wanted to survive. Intelligence. Luen's mouth curled up. No, that's right. I am a former captain of the Black Cat Pirates, but I can actually still command the Black Cat Pirates tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Black Cat Pirates will attack this village. Even if you are so strong, it is impossible to leave this village intact in such chaos. Spare my life, and I can help you kill all those guys. Hey, Usopp, you are friends with them, right? You don't want the villagers to get hurt, so let them leave me alone. Kuro swallowed and immediately looked at Usopp after he finished speaking. What? Usopp's expression suddenly changed. Kuya also covered her mouth, unable to believe that this was the true face of Krabatel, her once most trusted butler. So, why are you lurking here as a butler and manipulating the Black Cat Pirates to attack here? Luen said calmly without changing his expression. Although Luen, who knew the plot, already knew the reason. Only by letting Chloe say it himself could Kaya's fantasies be completely shattered. ICLO's throat was a little dry, and he remained silent for a long time. You won't tell me? Then go to hell. I said, I am lurking here for this family's property. I was fed up with the Navy that was attracted by the increasing bounty, so I faked my death to hide. I will spend another 3 years to gain the trust of the villagers here. When the Black Cat Pirates kill Miss Kaya tomorrow and ask her to write a suicide note leaving all her property to me, I can then reasonably take the property and live in peace. Chloe was completely frightened by Luen and told him everything immediately. As for why he didn't lie, under such extreme fear, CLO's mind had already collapsed. So how could he lie? Krabatel, Kaya covered her mouth and looked at CLO in disbelief. The housekeeper whom they rescued and treated like a family member actually wanted to kill their entire family. Let me go, and I will tell you the locations of those bastards in the Black Cat Pirates. I will no longer be a pirate. Just let me live. At this moment, CLO just wanted to survive and didn't care about Kaya's feelings at all. Swoosh. Bang. The fist that had been stretched out hit CLO's face hard, with such force that his face was deformed. You're using your ally's life to save your own. Trash like you don't deserve to be called a pirate. Your ally isn't meant to be used like this. Looking at Clow lying on the ground without a sound, Luffy's face was filled with anger. The corners of Zoro's mouth curled up slightly. Luen glanced at Nami, and Nami pursed her red lips, understanding what Luen meant. In her mind, she recalled what Luen had said, that he would help her even at the risk of his own life. And coupled with the princess hug from before, Nami's heart was filled with waves. Hey, Luffy, you haven't found out where those pirates are yet. Usopp held his head and screamed, then quickly ran to Crow and kept shaking him, trying to wake him up. Hey, wake up, you guy, where are those pirates? Usopp's forehead was covered with cold sweat, and he kept shaking Crow. But Chloe had already had all his strength taken away by Luen, and his physique was now similar to that of a normal villager. How could he wake up after being hit by Luffy's angry attack? Hateful. Seeing that Crow really couldn't wake up, Usopp slammed his fist to the ground. Why don't you tell the villagers that pirates are coming tomorrow and ask them to leave? Zoro said, crossing his arms. The villagers won't believe me. I've always lied to them that pirates are coming. Usopp looked pained. Usopp, I can go talk to you. Kuya coughed twice and spoke with some difficulty. Her health was already very poor, and coupled with the blow from the CLO incident, Kaya felt a little uncomfortable for a while. No, who knows if this guy Crow is hiding something. For example, if there was no signal from him, those pirates would not have come to attack. If you, Kaya, go and say it, but the pirates don't come tomorrow, no one will trust you either. By the time those pirates really come, it will be too late. Usopp's passive and cowardly nature made him immediately think of the worst-case scenario. The reason why he lied to the villagers every day that pirates were coming was because his father Jesus went to the sea and became a pirate. Usopp's mother was seriously ill. Seeing his mother in pain and missing her father, Usopp suddenly had an idea and shouted in the village that pirates were coming so that his mother could hear it. When Usopp's mother heard Usopp shouting, She became hopeful about Jesus' return, and her health improved a little. So Usopp continued to shout every day that pirates were coming. This habit has been maintained until the death of Usopp's mother. This hides Usopp's longing for his deceased mother. In addition, the village of Ziliobu was very lonely in the sea, and the villagers were actually very bored every day. After chasing and scolding him every day, Usopp could still see some villagers smiling happily. So Usopp persisted even more. But now, Usopp has tasted the bitter fruit of years of lying. Well, you won't ask us for help. Luen looked at Usopp with a smile on his face. This is my village, and I alone have the responsibility to protect it. And we don't know whether those pirates will come tomorrow. If they don't come, will you stay here forever? You guys still have your own adventures. How can I shamelessly ask you to do something for me? Usopp turned his head and spoke loudly, even though he was afraid. All right, Captain Usopp, will go outside the village to resist those pirates. Usopp straightened his chest. But your legs are shaking. Nami looked at Usopp. But damn it, this is not a joke. There are real pirates. You can't be such a coward. Usopp looked at his shaking legs, his forehead covered with sweat, and hit his legs hard with his hands. Yeah, I'm just scared, so what? You can laugh if you want. Unable to control his shaking legs, Usopp raised his head and said loudly, No one is laughing at you. How can anyone laugh at a true brave warrior on the sea? Luen spoke slowly. When I am a brave warrior on the sea. When Usopp heard Rune's words, his nose suddenly felt sore. Usopp's dream is to become a brave sea warrior. And Usopp has also witnessed Rune's power. Usopp felt his mouth go dry at being recognized by such a man. You guys are not sympathizing with me? Usopp still felt very inferior at this time. Who would risk their life to fight pirates just for sympathy, idiot? Luffy said loudly, then looked at Usopp and smiled. Hee hee. Besides, what do you mean by our adventure? Aren't you already our partner? Usopp's eyes widened, and he looked at Luffy in disbelief as he grinned and reached out to him. Would you like to join us, Usopp? Luen raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Usopp. Snored. Zoro said nothing, but just smiled. Zoro can see that Usopp is timid by nature, but for the sake of the village, he has the courage to face the pirates. He admires such a man. Luffy, Luen, everyone. Usopp's eyes suddenly turned red and he pounced towards Luffy. But I want to be the captain. It's me, the captain. The deputy captain is also fine. Stop talking nonsense. Luen looked at Usopp, who was fighting with Luffy, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Usopp joins the Straw Hat Pirates. Loadable entries have been updated. Chapter 31. Vice Captain? In Kia's Villa. In order to thank Luen and others for killing CLO and saving everyone here, Kaya warmly entertained Luen and others. You two guys are exaggerating, aren't you? Didn't you just eat? Zoro looked at Luffy and Rune, who were eating with relish, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Although Zoro, who only has the physique of a demon beast, deep purple, has a strong ability to digest food, he is far inferior to Rune and Luffy, who have the physique of a Superman, deep purple. After all, there is no truly perfect physique on this sea. The Warcraft physique, deep purple, focuses more on cultivation, while the Superman physique, deep purple, focuses more on digestion and absorption. Luen already has the superhuman physique, dark purple, and Zoro's monster physique, dark purple, is also loading smoothly and will be completed soon. Luen was also looking forward to seeing how strong these two perfectly complementary physiques would be able to push his physical strength. Zoro ate some food, but Nami, who had just eaten her fill at Usopp's hospitality, only ate some dessert and fruit, then propped up her chin and watched Luen feasting on the food. Even Nami herself didn't notice that a sweet smile unconsciously appeared on her face. Delicious. Of course I have to eat more of something this delicious. Luffy stuffed his mouth full. The property of the Kia family is coveted by CLO, who is willing to hide here for 3 years to get it. The food provided was much richer than any meal Luen and the others had eaten before. Strengthen. Luen swallowed the food in his mouth and said to himself, use the number of strength-related deep purple level entries. 1. Obtained from CLO to strengthen Superman's physique, deep purple. Luen now has the Born for the Sea, super gold, entry, and his Conqueror's Hockey can continue to grow stronger. In addition, the golden terms were strengthened with the deep purple terms, and not even a wave could be made. As they were about to enter the Grand Line, what Luen needed more was a stronger physique. Reinforcement completed. A line of light screens appeared. In a flash, the nutrients in the food that Luen had just eaten were instantly absorbed by Luen's body, and it was not even enough. Feeling his stomach was empty, Luen started a new round of eating under the stunned gaze of everyone. This is why Luen strengthened his superhuman physique, dark purple, after eating a big meal. Use the converted fixed terms to directly upgrade the superhuman physique, dark purple. What is upgraded is the upper limit of the physique. The stamina bar needs to be filled up. To put it simply, for example, if the value of Superman's physique, dark purple, was 100 out of 100 before, then after the upgrade, it will become 100 out of 150. More food and nutrition are needed to fill the empty physical strength tank. As for why the superhuman physique, deep purple, loaded from Luffy does not require this process, it is because during the loading process, Luffy's own physical strength is also loaded. The physical strength is full and naturally does not need to be replenished. This is the kind of situation that Luen, who has the entry system, will encounter. On the sea, even a monster, Charlotte Lingling's physical strength is strengthened by following the law of conservation of energy and is gained by eating one bite at a time. It's nothing like Luen, who can directly use entries to upgrade and increase the upper limit of his physical strength. Sigh. Luen, it turns out that you eat more than I do. Luffy's eyes were wide open at this moment. I never realized that Luen's appetite was so amazing before. There are many more, Mr. Luen. Seeing that there was not much food left on the table, Kia quickly asked the chef to bring more food. Kia was extremely grateful to Luen. If it weren't for Mr. Luen, she, Melly, and everyone here would probably have been killed by CLO. And Kuya looked at Luen, her eyes slightly disturbed. Call. After replenishing his nutrition, Luen breathed a sigh of relief. Luen clenched his fists tightly, feeling the power in his body surge again, and a smile appeared on his lips. After this strengthening, Rune could be said to be the strongest in the Straw Hat Pirates in terms of physique alone. There are still about 7 deep purple entries to upgrade to super purple. I see. Luen checked the latest status of his superhuman physique, deep purple, and a hint of understanding flashed in his eyes. There's also a big difference between entries of the same level. For example, the threshold for the super gold level combat power entry is the Admiral level combat power. In other words, the gatekeepers of the Admiral level combat power, such as the Black Arm Zephyr in his prime, and the Peak 4 Emperors like Kaido, all show the super gold level of the entry. But the two are not at the same level of combat power. If the combat power of a general level goalkeeper like Zephyr is 1 in the super gold entry level, then Kaido is probably 7 or even higher. For example, the deep purple level entry that I took from CLO just reached the threshold of the deep purple level entry. The superhuman physique, deep purple, inherited from Luffy itself, exceeds the threshold of the deep purple level. Therefore, after strengthening, only 7 more entries with deep purple level threshold are needed to strengthen it, and it can be upgraded to super purple level entries. Similarly, if Luen plunders an entry like Luffy's Superman Constitution, deep purple, which is above the threshold level of deep purple, after the conversion, it will automatically be converted into a deep purple level threshold entry, and the quantity is determined by the quality of the looted entries. For example, if Luen plunders a deep purple level entry that is very close to the super purple level, then after the conversion, the number of deep purple level threshold entries that Luen obtains as upgrade materials may be 8 or even 9. This is reasonable. Otherwise, if the gains from looting a deep purple entry that is very close to super purple are the same as those from looting an entry that barely reaches the deep purple threshold, then it would be a big loss. This is in line with the law of conservation of matter. Luen's mouth curled up slightly. Luffy, how are those pirates going to find them? Usopp saw that everyone had almost finished eating, so he started to ask. Have no idea. Luffy was very straightforward. Why? Usopp was stunned. I don't know what this means. Are we going to die here waiting for those pirates to come? Usopp held his head. A thief can steal for 1,000 days, but you can't guard against thieves for 1,000 days. Luen will handle it, right, Luen? Luffy looked at Luen with a grin. From Luffy's perspective, it's better to leave this kind of thinking work to Luen. Anyway, Luen will get it done. Compared to Luffy, Luen is more like a captain. Zoro looked helpless at this moment. It's true. Nami smiled too. But Luen recognizes me as the captain. Luffy didn't care about his friend's complaints and grinned. As a captain, you are so dependent on Luen, a crew member. You should have some awareness as a captain. Nami lectured. Hey, isn't Luen the vice captain? At this time, Usopp suddenly spoke. Usopp thought that Rune was the vice captain, but now it seems that he is not. Chapter 32. As expected of Luen, second captain. After hearing what Usopp said, Nami, Zoro, and Luffy all looked at Rune. Nami felt that Luen seemed to have been doing the work of vice captain all along. Sauron had no objection to this. Luen made him fully aware of the future path and how to realize his ambitions. Zoro also admired Luen's magnanimity. He had no objection if Luen became the vice captain. However, the decision on the selection of the vice captain still lies with Captain Luffy. Zoro and Nami looked at Luffy. Luffy blinked at this point. Luffy still remembers that when Luen first became his partner, he fully agreed with his dream of becoming the Pirate King. He also took a title that matched the right hand of One Piece, and was also the vice captain of One Piece's ship, Pluto Rayleigh, the King of Heaven. And in the following voyage, it was thanks to Luen that he gained 2 more companions, Zoro and Nami. Luen himself is also very reliable, and he's indeed very suitable for the position of deputy captain. But Luffy was a little confused again. It's too early to talk about the vice captain. Luen looked at Luffy, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Huh? Why? After becoming the vice captain, you'll be able to better command other members in battle, and your companions will also be more accepting of your command. Nami was curious. Although Nami is only joining temporarily, the official members of the pirate group now are only Zoro, Rune, Usopp, and Captain Luffy. But in Nami's opinion, there is no more perfect candidate for deputy captain than Luen. Even Zoro, the famous pirate hunter in the East China Sea, highly recognizes Luen and will obey his command. The battle command along the way was basically decided by Luen. You can become a vice captain not by becoming a vice captain to be recognized by your partners, but by being recognized by all your partners. Luen's mouth curled up slightly. Snort. A smile appeared on Zoro's lips. As expected, it's Luen. So handsome, Luen. Usopp felt that Luen was glowing at this moment. This is the real pirate. Besides, Luffy's partners have not yet been assembled. Before the assembly is completed and before all partners have been recognized, it is too early to talk about vice captain. Luen looked at Luffy, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. This is probably also the reason why, in the original work, even after the Straw Hat Pirates defeated Kaido, Big Mom, and became the new Four Emperors pirate group, they still did not have an official vice captain. Luffy cherishes and respects his partners immensely, even those who have not yet joined. Given Luffy's personality, he will not confirm the candidate for vice captain before all the partners are confirmed. Luen, it's great to have you as my partner. Luffy heard this and grinned, looking extremely happy. This is where Luffy was struggling. He hadn't yet gathered all his partners and obtained their approval before he was appointed vice captain. In Luffy's opinion, this is not respectful to future partners. Now that the deputy captain has been appointed, the companions who join his ship in the future will be the same as his subordinates. There were no men on his ship, only companions. What Luen said, it's not that you become a vice captain to be recognized by your partners, but that you become a vice captain when you're recognized by all your partners, is exactly what Luffy thought. When all the partners have been gathered, the one recognized by all of them will be his vice captain of the pirate group. With Monkey D, Luffy's strong approval, the bond has been enhanced, and the entry loading progress has increased. The loading of the Sun God, Super Gold, entry is another step forward. Luen's mouth curled up slightly. Look at Luen. As a captain, You should be more reliable. After hearing what Luen said, Nami's eyes showed something more. But then he looked at the smiling Luffy and gave him a lecture with a look of disappointment. I'm very reliable at critical moments, okay? That's what Luen said. Luffy puffed out his chest proudly. You use Luen's words to show how powerful you are. How can you be a captain? Zoro covered his forehead helplessly. Is that so? Luffy's face froze. Well, everyone gathers together because they recognize you. Luen couldn't help laughing when he saw Luffy's performance, but he still said something for Luffy. Although Luffy is usually unreliable, he is still very trustworthy at critical moments. Luffy's personality charm is also very outstanding. Before going out to sea, everyone in the Straw Hat Pirates had their own dreams. But later, everyone added another dream, which was to make Luffy the Pirate King. The reason why Luen joined the Straw Hat Pirates was not only to be able to load the attributes of Luffy and the other members of the Straw Hat Pirates, but also to rely on Luffy's strong relationship to successfully pass the growth period. One of the important reasons is that Luen admires Luffy's character. Luffy was immediately touched. Don't pamper Luffy too much, Luen, Nami said helplessly. Then Luen, how do we find those pirates? Usopp was concerned about the safety of the villagers and looked at Rune with some anxiety. The current captain of the Black Cat Pirates is the former vice captain of Crow, the hypnotist named Zango, who has a bounty of 9 million Baileys. If Kuro wants to command the Black Cat Pirates to attack here, he must go through Zhang Ao. If they want to determine the exact time of the operation, they need to meet. Zhang Ao's behavior is very strange. He attracts attention unconsciously. If we go to the village, we should be able to find Zhang Ao quickly. Luen left. Luen, who knew the plot, could easily solve the problem of the Black Cat Pirates by doing a simple reverse deduction based on the plot he already knew. Sujii, you are indeed a military strategist. Usopp looked at Rune with reverence. When they first met, Luen easily saw through his bragging. He is powerful, has admirable character, and has such strategy. Luen, he is indeed a real pirate. Then find that guy quickly and kill him. Luffy rolled up his sleeves and was about to rush out. Do you know what he looks like? Zoro grabbed Luffy by the back of the collar and pulled him back. Oops, I forgot about that. Luffy yelled, holding his head. I'll go deal with Zhang Ao's problem. You stay here and talk to Mary about the pirate ship. Luen stood up. The bounty is 9 million Baileys, and there is also the ability to hypnotize, so I should be able to gain something. Don't worry, Mr. Luen. I will do my best to build a good ship for you. Melly, who was standing aside, said seriously. Mary is Kaya's servant, but more like a mentor and good friend. Mary was extremely grateful to Luen and the others for defeating CLO and saving Miss Kaya's life. Naturally, we have to do our best to build a good pirate ship for Luen and others. Of course, the Mary was actually designed by Mary when he was a child 22 years ago, and now the ship has been basically built. But there are still some details that need to be modified according to the requirements of Luen and others. I'm looking forward to it. Luen laughed. Chapter 33, Kaya Night Go. Ch 33. Luen, along with Zoro and Usopp, soon found Zhang Ao behaving strangely in the village of Silab. Zhang Ao was like a little chicken in front of Luen, without any power to fight back. Later, through Zhang Ao, he found the location of the Black Cat Pirates and eliminated them all. The rest of the Black Cat Pirates are all minions. Some of them don't even have a white entry. At most, the two brothers Sam and Buggy have blue entries, but they are of no use to Luen. Zhang Ao actually contributed an entry above the purple level to Luen. Hypnosis, light purple, able to hypnotize others, stimulate their physical potential, and greatly increase their strength. The disadvantage is that they will lose control of their mind. After Luen transformed this hypnosis, he gained 3 light purple level strength items that could be used for upgrades. It seems that things that can directly improve combat power are also classified as strength-related entries. Luen was quite satisfied, as it was a good way to make use of the waste. These 3 light purple level strength entries were used by Luen to continue strengthening Superman's physique, dark purple. No matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat. Luen's superhuman physique, deep purple, continues to move towards the super purple level entry. using 3 light purple items to strengthen the superhuman physique, dark purple, made Luen feel a little hungry again. However, after all, it is only enhanced with light purple level entries, so the feeling of hunger is not so exaggerated that it requires eating immediately. Then Luen asked Zoro and Usopp to tie the pirates back to Sila village and hand them over to the villagers to deal with. This village is not rich, and exchanging these pirates for bounties can also improve the lives of the villagers here. This is also the reason why Luen brought Zoro and Usopp to find the Black Cat pirates. It is better to leave the hard work of catching minions to Zoro and Usopp, and that's why Luen did this. Usopp is very grateful and respectful of your actions. The bond has been improved, and the entry loading progress has increased. Luen has already loaded the Hymn of Courage, special, on Usopp. Originally, Luen was worried that if he loaded this entry, he would become as timid as Usopp, which would be counterproductive. The feedback from the entry system is that the passive and timid personality is inherent in Usopp's genes. After loading it, there will be no such negative effects. So Luen loaded this entry. This Hymn of Courage, special, entry may play an unexpected role at a critical moment. As for the slingshot sniper, light purple, and the inventor, light purple, they were of no use to Luen, so he did not load them. After finishing all these trivial matters, Luen ate another meal to replenish his energy in front of Zoro and others, even Luffy, who were stunned. Afterwards, under Kaya's arrangement, Luen and others each chose a room and chose to rest here for one night. The Mary still needs to check the details again. Usopp returned home, packed his luggage, and prepared to go to the sea with Luen and others. In Luen's room, Bree, after taking a comfortable hot bath, Luen half leaned on the bed and opened the window a crack. Feeling the energy of the sea in the sea breeze blowing in from the window, he continued to increase the strength of his Conqueror's Haki by relying on Born for the Sea, Super Gold. Although Luen has the Born for the Sea, Super Gold entry, and it is very comfortable for him to sail on the sea, it is naturally more comfortable to lie on the soft big bed and feel the sea breeze. In addition, the strength of the Conqueror's Haki can be continuously improved, which makes Luen's mouth curl up unconsciously. Bang, bang, bang at this moment. There was a slight knock on the door. Luen opened his eyes. Who could come knocking on the door at this time? Although it was strange, Luen still stood up and walked towards the door of the room. Crack! Luen opened the door and looked at the person outside with some surprise. Ms. Kaya. Luen looked at Kuya and the dining car behind her and immediately understood something, with the corners of his mouth twitching. Mr. Luen, you could just call me Kia. When Kuya saw Luen, her pretty face turned red and she started coughing. Her body was too weak, and the sea breeze blowing in through the open window of Luen's room made her cough unconsciously. Then you could just call me Luen, Kia. Luen first closed the door of the room slightly to prevent the sea breeze from blowing onto Kia, and then said, "It's so late, and you're not feeling well. What's the matter with you coming to see me?" Although Luen had already guessed what Kia was thinking when he saw the food cart behind her. "I'm worried that you haven't eaten enough, Luen." So, Kia blushed and pointed at the food cart at hand. Even Luffy was shocked by Luen's appetite, let alone Kaya. The key point is that Luen's meal intervals are very short. Kuya was worried that Luen might be hungry, so she prepared some more food. She was weak, and it was Melly who helped her push the dining cart over. She asked Melly to go and rest before knocking on the door. "Thank you for your hard work, Kaya." Luen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Luen, who possesses a superhuman physique, dark purple, can control the amount of food he eats on a daily basis. He only needs to eat a small amount to meet his daily activities. Only when you need to use superhuman physique, deep purple, to strengthen your body, or after a battle, do you need to eat a lot of food, just like what is shown in Luffy's original work. The reason why Luen ate such a terrifying amount of food today was because he used the entry to strengthen the superhuman physique, dark purple. Do you want to come in and take a break? Luen looked at Kuya and saw that she didn't seem to have any intention of leaving, so he spoke slowly. Kuya was too weak, and one could feel her weakness just by standing outside the door for a while. Luen looked towards the corridor inconspicuously and saw a figure looming in the shadows. That's Melly. It seems that he is worried about Kuya coming here alone. But Kaya didn't let Melly follow her, so it seemed that it was Kaya's own wish to find herself. Well, excuse me for bothering you. Kuya hesitated for a moment. Then her pretty face turned slightly red, and she lowered her head and spoke crisply. Although he didn't know why Kaya came to find him, since a little girl like her wasn't afraid. Why should he be afraid? Luen pulled the dining cart back into the room and quickly closed the open window. After closing the window, Kia slowly walked in and sat on the chair in the room. Chapter 34. Agreement with Kaya, ch 34. After entering Luen's room, Kia was obviously a little embarrassed. Luen looked at Kia and smiled, then slightly half opened the door of the room, but did not close it. This action relaxed Kaya's tense body a lot. So, Kaya, what do you want from me? Luen sat down opposite Kia and smiled gently. Luen, don't you want to eat? Although Kia was not that nervous, she still used the topic of food to ease her inner anxiety. Eat, of course. Luen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although Luen was not hungry at the moment, he could not let Kia down. With a superhuman physique, deep purple, it would not be a big problem to eat one more meal. At most, he would just have to take a little longer to digest. Seeing Luen eating the food she brought, Kuya's eyes narrowed with laughter. Thank you for the treat. After eating all the food, Luen also breathed a sigh of relief. Although the Superman physique, dark purple, has amazing digestive ability, it still takes time to digest, especially including Usopp's treat today. Luen had eaten 3 meals in a row, especially the last meal. Luen had eaten enough food for Superman's physique, deep purple, to digest and absorb tonight. Luen's stomach capacity is limited, and after this midnight snack, Luen ate a little too much. Luen, you guys are leaving here tomorrow, right? Kuya had adjusted her mood after such a long time. When she saw Luen finished eating, she asked, well, we have to continue heading towards a Grand Line. Luen laughed. The Grand Line, what's there? Kuya looked at longing. She has been weak and sickly since childhood. Not to mention going to the sea, even walking normally is very difficult for her. There, the geomagnetic field, celestial phenomena, ocean currents, and air currents are all in chaos. It's difficult to even determine your location. There are islands with ice and snow all year round, and there are also islands with thunderstorms all year round. There is a sky island above the sky. Luen looked at the longing on Kaya's face, smiled slightly, and slowly narrated everything about the Grand Line. In the East China Sea, few people know the Grand Line better than Luen, who knows the plot. Of course, Luen has not experienced all of these personally yet, and he is very much looking forward to the upcoming journey on the Grand Line. Hearing Luen's vivid description, Kuya exclaimed in amazement from time to time. Unlike Usopp's obvious bragging, Kaya could feel that what Rune said was true. This was a girl's intuition. It's incredible. The sea is so vast. Kuya looked out the window. Although it was a little late, she could still faintly see the waves of the sea in the distance. Her pretty face was full of longing. It's a pity that I can't go to the sea. Kuya's pretty face was full of regret. Kuya was in a weak body, with a delicate look on her pretty face, which, coupled with an expression full of regret, made her look even more pitiful. It's not like there's no chance. Luen looked at Kia's appearance and said softly, why? Kuya looked at Luen and her eyes widened immediately. But, let alone going to the sea, it's very difficult for me to even walk a long way. Kuya looked at her thin body and pursed her red lips. The secret treasure of the sea, the devil fruit, Kaya, do you know? Luen spoke slowly. Devil fruit? Isn't that something that only exists in legends? Kaya blinked. Luffy ate a devil fruit. As long as you eat an animal-type devil fruit, your body will be restored to health. Luen laughed. Kaya's condition is actually due to her congenital physical weakness, which makes her weak and sickly. This situation is different from the situation where Trafalgar Law ate the surgery fruit to treat the lead disease. All Kaya needs is an animal-type devil fruit that can strengthen the body to regain health. Although even animal-type devil fruits are rarely seen in the East China Sea, in a Grand Line, animal-type devil fruits are worthless. For Luen, getting an animal-type devil fruit was even easier. Luen, who has the strongest entry system, can turn devil fruits into entries and then plunder them, and the entries of devil fruits can be given to others. Just like Blackbeard, they can form a team of people with special abilities by hunting them down. Luen, who possesses the strongest entry system, can naturally do it. It's just that because others don't have the entry system, once Luen gives the looted devil fruit entry to others, they will also become ability users. While gaining abilities, he also has to bear the side effects of the devil fruit, being rejected by the sea and becoming a landlubber. There are pros and cons. That's the devil fruit. Unlike Luen, who has the strongest entry system, he can use the power of the devil fruit without having to bear the side effects of the devil fruit. Even if there is a legendary secret treasure like the devil fruit, I will never have the chance to eat it. After hearing Luen's words, Kuya's eyes suddenly lit up and then dimmed. When we meet again, I'll give you a devil fruit. How about that? Luen laughed. Kuya widened her eyes and looked at Luen in disbelief as he looked at her with a gentle smile. Luen, how can this be possible? It's such a precious thing. At this moment, Kuya didn't even know what to say. Devil fruits are nothing to me. And besides, haven't you already paid me? A girl's love is much more precious to me than a devil fruit. Luen looked at the dining car next to him and smiled. Kuya bit her red lips and stared at Luen in a daze. How could these foods compare to the legendary secret treasure of the sea, the devil fruit? She was weak and sickly since childhood and would read some interesting books when she was bored in her room. As a young girl, Kia naturally likes to read books about love, and she is very envious of the love stories in the books, especially some stories where the girl's true love comes down from the sky and saves the girl. For Kaya, who couldn't even leave the room or take a leisurely walk outdoors, such a story was very attractive. But Kaya also knew that such a thing was almost impossible to happen. But that's what happened. Luen really just dropped from the sky like in a book, defeated CLO, and saved her and everyone here. When she first met Luen, she didn't believe what Luen said. Krabatel was a pirate, and she even yelled at Luen. But Luen was not angry. Instead, he smiled at her gently, and then saved her and everyone here. That warm smile made Kaya's mind full of Luen's image when she was resting. Kuya, who had never been in love, didn't know if this feeling was the love described in the books. But this feeling is completely different from the feeling Kaya had inside when she listened to Usopp bragging. Usopp, they are very good friends, so Kaya knows how she feels when facing her friends. But the feeling I had towards Luen, even though it was just the first time we met, was completely different from the feeling I had towards my friends. I want to know everything about Luen. I want to chat with Luen more. I want to serve more food to Luen, who seems to be hungry at the table. Even if she was just watching Luen eating, Kia would smile unconsciously. This feeling is really similar to the love she saw in the book. Kia also read a sentence in the book that whether people can become lovers or destined to be just friends is destined from the moment they meet for the first time. Knowing that Luen would be leaving tomorrow, Kia wanted to chat with Luen more tonight. In addition to Luen's exaggerated food intake and meal intervals today, Kia was also worried whether Luen would be hungry, so she came tonight. We have made a promise. Luen looked at Kia, stretched out his little finger, and smiled gently. Ein Luen es gentle smile. Kia bluchet sleek flee. Then he gently hooked his little finger with Luen's little finger. The strange touch from his fingertips made Kuya's heart tremble, and she lowered her head shyly. At this moment, Kaya was sure. This is love. Chapter 35. Careful, every little thing is love. Take off. CH 35. Early the next morning, Luen and the others followed Kaya and Melly and arrived at the port. Everyone, this is your ship. I named it the Golden Mary. Mary lifted the cloth covering the boat, revealing the boat inside. Luen looked at this pirate ship that had caused so much frustration to countless pirate fans on the Blue Planet, and a smile appeared on his face. The Golden Mary was a fast-sailing ship with a triangular sail on the mizzen mast, a central rudder at the stern, and a sheep's head bow. There were 4 cannons mounted on the ship, one at the bow pointing forward, one at the stern, and the other 2 on both sides. Although it cannot be compared with those big pirate ships, but compared with the simple ship that Luen and his friends had before, it is at least a real pirate ship. Hee hee. What great boat. The moment Luffy saw the ship, he smiled happily. This is the first official pirate ship of their pirate group. Finally, we have a decent ship. With a ship like this, we should be able to sail on the Grand Line. Nami was also very happy. As a navigator, a good ship is like a tiger with wings. Snort. When Zoro heard this, a smile appeared on his face. Luen helped him broaden his horizons, and Zoro knew that his ambitions could only be realized on the Grand Line. Luen, why are you looking at me like that? Nami suddenly felt Luen's gaze, blinked, and her pretty face turned slightly red. Nothing. I just think your smile is very beautiful now, and you look much happier. Luen laughed. Although Nami would smile before, I could clearly feel what was on her mind. That is the worry about my hometown, Kikayasi village. But now, Nami's smile seemed much happier. Nami pursed her red lips when she heard that. It turns out that her smile is much happier. Come to think of it, she was indeed very happy ever since she met Luen again. That is, after Orangetown fought against the buggy pirates. Especially Luen's words that she could rely on him, and his subsequent behavior of protecting her no matter what the situation was, made Nami unconsciously feel the long-lost sense of security. Ever since Belmir's death, he became a pirate and thief, and went out to sea to earn those 100 million berries. He never had this feeling of security again. It's like I found someone to rely on. After seeing the ship, Nami began to consider the issue from the perspective of the ship's navigator, and it seemed that she had completely forgotten about the temporary navigator she had mentioned before. But can this kind of life really last long? Nami bit her lip at the thought. No matter what happens to you, remember what I said. Nami. Luen gently placed his hand on Nami's shoulder, just like he did in Orangetown. If you encounter any problems, just go ahead and trouble me. I am very strong. Luen looked at Nami and smiled. No matter how strong Nami is, she is just an 18-year-old girl. His hometown was violently ruled by Eren, and his adoptive mother Belmir was killed in front of him. Later, for the sake of the villagers, he had no choice but to join the Arlong pirates, drawing nautical charts while going out to sea to earn 100 million Baileys to redeem his hometown. This kind of life started when I was even 10 years old. Thinking of this, there was some pity in Luen's eyes. Nami's nose felt sore when she heard that. She bit her red lips and gently placed her forehead on Luen's hand on her shoulder. Just like in Orangetown, Kaya, who was not far away, saw this scene and felt a little sad and envious. But then, Kaya looked at the little finger that she and Luen had agreed on and smiled again. She has already gotten enough. She can't be so greedy. Let's set sail. Luen, Nami, what are you guys dawdling about for? Luffy suddenly yelled. Luffy. Looking at Nami, who was running away, Rune looked at Luffy with a smile. I need to make a good training plan for you. As a captain, you can't be so careless. Luen's smile was extremely bright. Why? Luffy couldn't figure out what was going on, as Luen had clearly been very tolerant toward him before. Only Nami, who had already boarded the Mary, blushed. Kaya, goodbye. Usopp was now on the ship, yelling. Usopp, keep going, fulfill your dream, and become a brave sea warrior. Kaya looked at Usopp, a big smile on her face, and waved at him. Oh, watch me. Usopp puffed out his chest and shouted. Well, be careful on your journey, Luen. Her beautiful eyes turned slightly to look at Luen. Kuya bit her red lips and looked at Luen timidly. Friendship is open and generous, while love is cautious. Well then, let's go, Kaya. Luen turned his head and said goodbye to Kuya with a smile. Luen is not a fool, so he naturally noticed Kia's feelings. But Luen didn't plan to bring Kia on board, as Kia was too weak to sail on the sea. What's more important is that Kaya's heart is not suitable for the Grand Line. Not to mention that Luen doesn't have the devil fruit to restore Kaya's health now. Even if Kaya recovers her health, she is not suitable to go to the Grand Line. Kaya's personality is not suitable for fighting. If she goes there and witnesses the cruelty of the Grand Line, it will be bad for her. In the world of One Piece, those who are not physically gifted enough, even those who have an incurable disease, can make up for it through devil fruits. But for those who don't have the mentality and ability to become a strong person, or for those like Nami who have a firm dream, then no means will help. Not everyone is suitable for the Grand Line. Besides, the first thing Luen needs to do now is to become stronger. This is the basis for everything. Otherwise, everything in your hands now is just the moon in the mirror and the flower in the water. If you don't give up something, you get nothing. This is the awareness and mentality that a strong person must have. Besides, this is not abandonment. When Luen stands on top of the world, he will naturally come back and take Koby away. Nami on the boat looked at Kaya's appearance at this moment, as if she understood something. For some reason, she felt a little sour in her heart. Nami also noticed the abnormal sourness and pursed her red lips. She originally thought that she could rely on Luen like she relied on a friend, but the sudden sour feeling told her that this was not the case. "Let's sail," Luffy shouted loudly while sitting in his special seat on the sheep's head at the bow of the ship. "Oh!" Luen and others cooperated by raising their right hands and responding with a smile. Under Nami's command, the Mary slowly left the port. Luen looked at Kaya, who was looking out at the shore, smiled, and stretched out his little finger. After seeing this, Kaya pursed her red lips and slowly stretched out her little finger. Thinking of the agreement in Luen's room last night, Kaya smiled sweetly. "I'll wait for you, Luen." Kaya's eyes were extremely bright. This was the agreement between her and Luen. "Have you decided?" Green peppers, radishes, and onions hugged together. Among them, Green Pepper said seriously, "Of course. Let's go quickly. We want to inherit the captain's greatness." Carrot Head looked towards Ziliuobu village. "The pirates are coming." Onion Head, Radish Head, and Green Pepper Head ran and shouted. In the distance, the Golden Mary was slowly sailing away. Only at the shore, Kia was looking out, unwilling to leave for a long time. Chapter 36. Fall asleep, and some will send me a pillow. CH 36. In the East China Sea, a pirate ship is sailing here. This is a pirate ship with a triangular sail on the mizzen mast, a central rudder at the stern, and a sheep's head at the bow. The most eye-catching thing is the pirate flag on the mainsail, which has a skull wearing a straw hat. After owning a formal pirate ship, Usopp, who has a talent for painting, also drew the Straw Hat Pirates pirate flag. Seeing the official pirate flag of the pirate group, Luffy smiled very happily. Sitting in his special seat, on the sheep's head on the bow, Luffy would look back from time to time to see the pirate flag of their pirate group. And Rune, relying on his current strong physique, after torturing Luffy and Zoro with a training plan for 2 days, continued to methodically use Born for the Sea, Super Gold, and Superman physique, Deep Purple, to improve his domineering aura and physique. With a formal pirate ship, there are storage facilities to store meat, and they no longer have to eat only apples during the voyage as before. Superhuman physique, Deep Purple, can also continue to play a role and improve Luen's physique. Breathe. Luen, who had just finished swimming, was lying on a lounge chair in the cabin on the second floor, feeling the energy of the sea in the air. When sailing on the sea, even in the cabin, one can feel the omnipresent energy of the sea, digesting the capacity enhanced by Born for the Sea, Super Gold, and constantly increasing the strength of the Conqueror's Haki. Luen's body was also digesting the food, providing nutrients to improve Luen's physique through the superhuman physique, Deep Purple. Nami was sitting at a table not far from Luen, drawing a nautical chart. She would glance at Luen from time to time, then smile slightly and continue to draw the nautical chart. Luen sometimes opened his eyes and looked at Nami and the drink that Nami had specially prepared for him, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. This drink is perfect for drinking right after a swim. With a beauty by my side and my growing strength, days like this are priceless. Swoosh. Boom. At this leisurely moment, a loud noise was heard. What are those two idiots doing? Zoro woke up on the deck and rubbed his head. These days, Zoro's training schedule is devilish. He was already very strict with his own training, and coupled with the sparring between Luen, him, and Luffy a few days ago, Zoro was shocked to find that Luen's physique was so much stronger than his. So Zoro increased the intensity of the already rigorous training plan, sleeping only 3 hours a day and spending the rest of the time training. At this moment, Zoro was resting with his eyes closed recovering from the pain in his body after the exercise. Hee. We are testing the cannon. Usopp is really accurate. He hit the rock with one shot. He will be the sniper of our pirate group from now on. Luffy and Usopp walked into the cabin, Luffy grinning. Oh yeah, we have a sniper, but before we enter the Grand Line, we still need a position. Luffy grinned. That's right. We now have such a beautiful kitchen. If you're willing to pay, I can do it. Nami looked around and smiled. Yes, this is a necessary position. Zoro also laughed. The chef is a position needed on every pirate ship. When sailing on the boring sea, supplementing nutrition is of utmost importance, and delicious food can also help the crew relieve fatigue from the long voyage. As for spiritual practice, having a chef to help with food matching can further improve the quality of practice. Really? Sure enough, this profession is needed on every pirate ship. Luffy raised his finger and grinned. Musician. Luffy's face was full of longing. Are you an idiot? At this moment, Zoro couldn't help but curse. What do you think sailing is, Luen? You can also talk to this idiot. Nami transforms into a fanged image. But pirates all have to sing, right? Luffy argued. It would be nice if I didn't have either the chef or the musician. Luen looked at the people who were looking at him and smiled. After owning a pirate ship, what Luen needs most now is a chef. Only with a chef, especially an excellent chef, can the effect of the superhuman constitution, Deep Purple, entry be fully brought into play. You know, in the world of One Piece, there are food supplements. The Shemale menu on the Shemale Island can be of great benefit to the training and strengthening of the physique. Combined with Luen's superhuman physique, Deep Purple, it will be even more powerful. But Luen definitely didn't want to take the menu there. Fortunately, there was the most suitable person. Sanji, the brave warrior who ventured into the island of transvestites in the original work. The most important thing is who doesn't like delicious food. Luen was very curious about Sanji's cooking skills when he was on Blue Star. When he came to the pirate world, he naturally wanted to taste it. Although Luffy's mind is full of musicians now, and he doesn't realize the importance of chefs, the best thing about being a protagonist is that when he feels sleepy, someone will give him a pillow. Soon, someone will vividly tell Luffy from personal experience the importance of a chef when sailing on the sea. Most importantly, what was also brought along was the news about the man who is one of the most powerful men in the pirate world. News about the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, Dracula Mihawk. Luen's mouth curled up slightly. Bang! Come out, pirates! A loud shout was heard, accompanied by the sound of water barrels on the boat being smashed. Who are you? As the captain, Luffy walked out of the cabin on the second floor without hesitation. Who do you care who I am? You're just an unknown pirate, and you think you can take my partner's life? The man didn't waste any time and attacked Luffy directly. Then, he was instantly knocked to the deck by Luffy's ability. What are you doing? Luffy still doesn't understand the situation. Aren't you Johnny? Hearing the man's voice sounded familiar, Zoro walked out of the cabin. When he saw the person lying on the deck, his eyes widened. Brother Zoro. Johnny's eyes widened, and he jumped to his feet. Brother Zoro, why are you on this nameless pirate ship? Johnny was extremely surprised. I haven't been a bounty hunter for a long time. His name is Johnny. He was my colleague when I was a bounty hunter. Zoro introduced. What do you mean by an unknown pirate ship? You bastard. Luffy was immediately unwilling. If it weren't for the fact that Zoro knew this guy, Luffy would have had to beat him up. It seems that the reputation of our pirate group needs to continue to rise. Luen walked out of the cabin, looked at Johnny, and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. Oh my God, King Luen! The moment Johnny saw Luen, he exclaimed. Chapter 37. The Chosen Worker. Birdie. Oh, King Luen. Johnny looked at Luen, sweat on his forehead. Unlike Zoro, who went to sea to become the world's greatest swordsman, but became a bounty hunter temporarily because of financial constraints, Johnny and his partner Joseph are professional bounty hunters. As a bounty hunter, the first thing to do is to collect intelligence. At least they have to know the bounty of each pirate, as well as information about their combat capabilities, so that they can select pirates they can defeat and who can earn them a generous bounty and go and attack them. Various newspapers are naturally a major source of pirate intelligence for bounty hunters. As the world's largest newspaper, The World Economic Information Services newspaper is a must-read. Although most of the reports of the World Economic News Agency are about the Grand Route, their East China Sea, which is known as the weakest sea, does not get much coverage, but it is good to broaden their horizons. But some time ago, in the reports of the World Economic News Agency, Donghai, which had always been an unknown company, was reported on a page by the World Economic News Agency. King Luen. He is the super rookie reported by the World Economic News. The World Economic News Agency wrote in its report, "A new king of the ocean is about to be born." Johnny naturally remembered this exaggerated evaluation very clearly. King of Heaven? Gee, Luen, your title is so impressive. Usopp looked at Rune and exclaimed. Usopp's father, Jesus, went out to sea as a pirate at an early age. His mother died of serious illness when he was a child, so naturally the family did not have much savings. In addition, he also likes to invent things, which requires money as a foundation. The newspaper of the World Economic News Agency is not cheap. Usopp naturally cannot buy every issue. At most, he buys one occasionally to broaden his horizons and to brag better. Usopp just happened not to buy the issue about Luen, and his fame is even higher than Luffy, the captain. Nami smiled. Nami didn't know why, but she was very happy when she heard that Luen was very famous. But after experiencing what happened to Kaya, Nami seemed to gradually understand what was going on. Nami glanced at Luen, her pretty face slightly red and her eyes even a little cautious. In fact, it's not just Luffy. Before entering the Grand Line, Zoro, who was known as the Pirate Hunter, was much more famous than Luffy. I will definitely become famous and get a super high bounty. Luffy naturally would not be jealous of his partners. Instead, he was full of fighting spirit, clenched his fists, and shouted, "Captain!" Johnny turned his head and stared at Luffy blankly. Why? Don't I look like a captain? Luffy put his hands on his hips and straightened his chest. Nami, Zoro, and Usopp shook their heads together. We are about to enter the Grand Line, and this idiot who chooses the musician over the chef is not like a captain at all. Luffy immediately started drawing circles in the corner. It's hard to believe that King Luen and Brother Zoro would choose you as their captain. Johnny also refreshed his understanding of Luffy at this moment. By the way, where's that guy Joseph? Why isn't he with you? Zoro looked around, wondering. The two partners, Johnny and Joseph, have always been inseparable. Joseph him, Johnny suddenly showed a look of grief. What's going on? With Zoro looking unhappy, Johnny pulled Joseph up from the boat on the sea. Joseph's face was gloomy, and he looked like he was about to die. Joseph was alive and kicking a few days ago, but suddenly he turned pale and was in a coma for several days. I couldn't figure out the reason. My teeth were falling out, and blood was gushing out of old wounds. I didn't know what to do. Johnny looked saddened to see his partner like this. When I sent him to rest next to the Rocky Mountain, a shell suddenly fired from the ship. Johnny even started to cry. Luffy and Usopp's mouths suddenly opened wide. It turned out that it was the artillery shells they fired. Yes, I'm sorry. Luffy and Usopp immediately bowed 90 degrees. If apologies worked, there wouldn't be a need for the police. Johnny saw Joseph spit out blood again and burst into tears. Right, partner. Brother Zoro, is this guy going to die? Johnny kept shaking Joseph. You're really going to kill him by shaking him like that. Luen and Nami came over. Relax, it's just common scurvy. Luffy, I told you before I prepare the apples. If you're lacking vitamins when sailing on the sea, forget it, you don't understand. As long as you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, you will get this disease. Luen looked at Joseph and said, Huh, did Luen say that? Luffy tilted his head, trying to remember, but there was no such impression in his brain. Brother Luen, since you know what this disease is, you must know what to do. Johnny immediately looked at Luen and said with tears in his eyes, All it will take is some fresh fruit. Luffy, Usopp, go get those oranges. Luen commanded Luffy and Usopp. Hi. Luffy and Usopp immediately did as they were told and stuffed a bunch of citrus fruits into Joseph's mouth. After a while, Joseph jumped up and sang and danced with Johnny. But soon, joy turned to sorrow, and Joseph fell down again. Although Joseph, as a native of the pirate world, has a good absorption ability, he does not have an entry like Superman Constitution, Deep Purple. After all, it's impossible to fully recover immediately, and it's just uncomfortable to keep jumping around like this. Fortunately, you will be able to fully recover after a few days of rest. Johnny was also relieved. This is a lesson, Luffy. Never underestimate sailing. Nami said to Luffy while writing in her sailing diary. Luffy's behavior of not wanting a chef but a musician first is simply stupid behavior in sailing. I didn't expect there would be such a crisis during the voyage. Zoro also spoke. Although Luen had mentioned this disease when preparing the apple, Sauron did not take it seriously at the time. Now seeing Joseph's appearance with his own eyes, it was also a huge lesson. He thought that during the voyage, all he needed to do was to have enough food. Does this mean that we must consider nutritional balance during a long journey with a limited food on board? Usopp was also thoughtful. If you think about it carefully, this is a necessary ability for sailing. Nami said, "Is a necessary ability?" Luffy, who was chewing on bread, suddenly shouted, "Okay, that must be a chef at sea. Let's go find a chef at sea." Luffy stood up and said to Luen and the others, "This is indeed what our pirate ship needs most before heading to the Grand Line." Luen smiled. "No matter how much you say, it is better to let Luffy and Zoro experience it for themselves. Growth is not only about strength, but also about mental maturity in order to become a truly strong person. Luffy and Zoro will both be important forces in the future to plunder advanced attributes by themselves and use the lineup luck, Super Gold, to seize the luck of iconic characters in the pirate camp. Especially in the future expedition against the Four Emperors, Luen will need the combat power of the two grown-up men. The Four Emperors pirate group represents a complete force. The more combat power they can use, the stronger the better. Facing a group of people besieging him alone, even a top Emperor-level warrior would not be able to handle it. In the original work, Kaido, the king of beasts, who was defeated in a round-robin battle, is the best negative example. Luen would never make such a mistake. As for chefs, I know a good place. Johnny grinned. "Okay, that's it. That's where it is." Luffy grinned. "It's very close to the Grand Line, and there are rumors about the hawk-eyed man that Brother Zoro has been looking for." Johnny's words made Zoro's eyes narrow. The corners of Luen's mouth curled up. "The course is north-northeast. Restaurant on the sea. Barati." Chapter 38. Luen's fame, Luffy's life experience. Sea Restaurant Barati is a floating restaurant located in the Samba's waters of the East China Sea. It looks like a giant ship with fish-shaped figureheads at both ends. Many people come here specifically to taste the delicious food made by the owner and chef Zepp, and even important figures in the Navy come here to eat. After sailing, this very distinctive sea restaurant appeared in front of Luen and others. "Skay, what a big fish." Looking at the unique appearance of Barati, Luffy drooled and shouted. This kind of design can whet Luffy's appetite just by looking at it. Ding ding. Just as everyone was about to approach Barati, a whistle sounded. "Hi, Navy ships." A warship much larger than the Mary, with a conspicuous naval emblem painted on its mainsail, quickly approached the Mary. The moment he saw the warship, Usopp's forehead suddenly broke out in sweat, and he exclaimed in surprise, "TSK, I'm an annoying guy." Zoro also felt troubled. Luen was still looking at the warship with interest, and suddenly looked at Nami, who was hiding behind him with amusement. "Well, I'm used to it." Feeling Luen's gaze, Nami subconsciously hid behind Luen and blinked, her pretty face slightly red. Since Orangetown, Luen would protect her every time she encountered danger, which made Nami get used to it. The moment she saw the naval ship, Nami subconsciously ran behind Luen. But I have to say, I feel really safe behind Luen. Nami pursed her red lips as she watched Luen move forward to better protect her behind him. A sense of security is extremely precious to Nami, who experienced Belmere being killed in person in her childhood, and whose hometown, Kokosai Village, is still under the violent rule of Arlong. This is a pirate flag I've never seen before. On the deck of a Navy ship, a man wearing a white patterned suit, pink hair, dark skin, and iron ring boxing gloves appeared in front of Luen and others. Looking at the Straw Hat Pirates pirate flag, the man narrowed his eyes. I'm the captain of the Marine headquarters, Iron Fist Fin Booty. Who's the captain? Tell me your name. Fin Booty raised his fist and shouted. I'm Luffy. Luffy walked forward and shouted. I'm Usopp. Usopp also came up to join the fun. I'm a captain. The pirate flag was just confirmed. Luffy glanced at Usopp, then shouted, identifying himself as captain. I drew the pirate flag, Usopp said. Hearing Luffy and Usopp's antics, Rune's smile turned a little strange. I don't know if Luffy did it on purpose, but when he met this obviously weak little character, Luffy's self-introduction would only be Luffy. But if he meets a strong character, Luffy's self-introduction will be I am Monkey D. Luffy. Luffy? A little character I've never heard of. Fin Booty sneered. Fin Booty, like Monka before him, is a navy who believes that title is everything. The nameless pirate group? What an eyesore. I might as well just sink you. Fin Booty turned his gaze and looked at the other people on the pirate ship. Then he saw Luen not far behind Luffy. Fin Booty rubbed his eyes, then looked at Luen's face again with wide eyes. Cold sweat began to break out. Oh my God, King Luen! Fin Booty exclaimed, making sure his eyes were not mistaken. You are a small character. Can you be called Iron Fist? The same title as the Marine hero. Luen looked at Fin Booty with interest. He took the same title as the Navy hero, Luffy's grandfather, Monkey D. Garp, and paraded around Garp's hometown, the East Sea. He is just a lieutenant in the headquarters, but he is very courageous. Skay, Luen, you're really famous. Even the Navy of the headquarters knows you. Usopp looked at Rune with reverence. He is indeed a true pirate. When Fin Booty heard Luen's ridicule, the corners of his mouth twitched, but he didn't dare to refute. He only dares to use this title to satisfy his desire in the East China Sea, the weakest sea. If he were in the headquarters of the Navy, he would be just an insignificant lieutenant and would not have any title. But the man in front of him, King Luen, is completely different. The owner of the Conqueror's Haki, the super rookie who suddenly appeared. Originally, as a small lieutenant in the headquarters, he did not understand the power of Conqueror's Haki. After all, after the formation of a balance between the three major forces of the four emperors, the Navy, and the seven warlords of the sea, fighting between the possessors of domineering Haki has rarely broken out in this ocean. But the World Economic News Agency's report on King Luen also caused quite a stir in the Navy headquarters. Although Fin Booty is inconspicuous in the Navy headquarters, he is a member of the Navy headquarters after all. The advantage of being in the headquarters is that some information can be obtained much more than in other places. The qualifications of King. Anyone who awakens is a powerful person with a great reputation on the sea. It is rumored that even the three high-ranking admirals in their navy do not have such power. Rumor has it that if one awakens this power, he or she will be trained to become the future admiral of the Navy headquarters. At worst, you can become a candidate for general. He was so young, yet he had already awakened the Conqueror's Haki. Even though he arrogantly called himself the King of Heaven, those within the Navy who understood the value of Conqueror Haki did not say that he was overestimating his own abilities. It is natural for people with the qualities of a king to be arrogant. Rumor has it that the headquarters has already begun discussing how much bounty to set for this man, and there are even rumors that it will be a terrifying number beyond imagination. These pieces of gossip made Fin Booty extremely jealous and envious. If he could awaken the Conqueror's Haki, then he wouldn't have to take the title of Iron Fist and indulge in his boasting in the East China Sea, the weakest sea. Admiral of the Navy headquarters. What an honor and power that is. How come a person who awakens such a powerful power is a damn pirate? But if he could catch this guy, would he be able to rise to the top? Fin Booty sometimes has such fantasies. As a result, now I meet this super newcomer. Looking at Luen, who was looking at him with a half smile, Fin Booty's forehead was covered with cold sweat. This man looked terrifyingly strong just by standing there. Only after meeting him did he realize that he didn't even have the courage to fight this man. He remembered. Damn World Economic News Agency. When reporting on this kid named Luffy, only his last name, Monkey and the D that didn't know what it meant were enlarged and bolded. His attention was all on the name King Luen, and he had long forgotten the name Luffy, which resulted in him not recognizing the identity of the boy named Luffy at first. What should we do now? He just said that he wanted to sink the pirate ship that the King Luen was on. Cold sweat began to appear on Finn Beauty's forehead. Navy hero? Who is it? At this moment, Luffy suddenly tilted his head, feeling that this title was somewhat familiar. You don't even know about the Navy hero? Navy hero Garp. This is common knowledge on the sea. Nami looked at Luffy helplessly. At the world government level, D is an absolute taboo, and with the presence of Garp's son, Monkey D. Dragon, the leader of the Revolutionary Army. So in the external propaganda, just like the GOLD, Roger in One Piece was changed to Goldo Roger by the world government. Garp is also known to the outside world as the Navy hero Garp or Iron Fist Garp. The name Monkey D. Garp is known only to a few people on the sea. Oh, it's Grandpa. When Luffy heard the name, he thought of many bad memories and shuddered. Grandfather, Nami, Usopp, and even Zoro showed expressions of disbelief. Joseph and Johnny hugged each other and looked at Luffy in shock. Wait, my mind is a little confused. Nami covered her head and shook it. Navy hero Garp is your grandfather? His biological father? Nami looked at Luffy in disbelief. That's right, Grandpa is very scary. Luffy thought of Garp's behavior when he was training him. Even Luffy, who is usually a thick-skinned man, had a flash of fear in his eyes. Luen looked at Luffy in amusement. This family is indeed full of talents. Garpeson Monkey Dragon became the leader of the Revolutionary Army. As for Luffy, Garp gave him an exaggerated training in order to make him a Navy soldier. Either throw Luffy into the abyss, exile Luffy to a rainforest full of wild beasts in the middle of the night, or simply tie Luffy to a balloon and release him into the air. While training Luffy in this way, he also shouted at him to become a strong Marine. It is conceivable how much psychological trauma this caused to the young Luffy. Not to mention that Luffy met red hair. Even if he didn't, it would be impossible for him to become a Marine under such circumstances. No matter who Luffy's grandfather is, he is a pirate now and a man who will become the Pirate King. Luen looked at everyone who was still in shock and concluded with a smile. That's right. He. Luffy wiped away the shadow in his heart towards Garp, grinned, and shouted. Bonds increase. Entry loading progress increases. It's easy to control Luffy. Luen raised the corner of his mouth, then looked at the stunned Finn Beauty on the opposite warship who was listening to them talking. I heard that you want to sink our pirate ship. Luen saw Finn Beauty's look and smiled. At this time, Finn Beauty was completely numb. Chapter 39. Sanji. At this moment, Fabuti's expression was as wonderful as it could be. He stared at the opposite side in amazement. Is there something wrong with his ears? That kid named Luffy is Vice Admiral Garp's grandson. But then, under Luen's gaze, he came to his senses, his forehead covered with cold sweat. Finn Beauty was sure that he had not heard wrong. What the hell? He originally wanted to bring the woman behind him to the famous sea restaurant Barati to show his wealth and charm. When encountering a pirate group, Finn Beauty also wants to show his strength. Doesn't this put this woman under control? The pirate group they encountered turned out to be the one that the King Luen belonged to. That unknown captain is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. Is this still the weakest sea, the East Sea? What a hell of a joke. Hey, why are you sweating so much? Are you scared of a bunch of pirates? But the brainless stupid woman behind me was still talking nonsense. Finn Beauty looked at Luen's teasing expression on the opposite boat and gritted his teeth. Of course I'm not afraid, but before this wonderful dinner, if it's too bloody, won't it affect my appetite? Finn Beauty said stubbornly. He also wants to save face. No matter what, he is still a captain of the Navy headquarters. If he doesn't take the initiative to provoke him, that Luen shouldn't make things difficult for him, right? Probably bloody? With your iron fist. Luen looked at the iron ring gloves on Finn Beauty's fists and smiled. Seeing this thing reminded Luen of the iron fist gloves that some adolescent boys liked to play with when they were on Blue Star. In the world of pirates, using something like this as a weapon and calling yourself Iron Fist is simply hilarious. Finn Beauty looked at Luen, who seemed ready to take action, and the cold sweat on his forehead was like a waterfall, which he couldn't stop at all. The other side doesn't give any face at all, but he had no way to let him fight a monster who, according to rumors in the Navy headquarters, would be trained as a future admiral of the headquarters if he were a Navy. He would die without knowing how. Moreover, he also personally experienced how terrifying this man was. Just standing there, he didn't even have the courage to punch him. If you really get beaten to death, it would be a waste of life. That damn kid named Luffy is the grandson of Vice Admiral Garp. Finn Beauty's forehead was covered with cold sweat. Wait. Today's spending is all mine. Finn Beauty raised his hands and cried out in panic. Face is not as important as life. Free consumption. Hearing this, Nami, who was hiding behind Luen, brightened her eyes. Really? It turns out you're a good person. Luffy immediately smiled happily. Hey, in the eyes of ordinary people, we're the bad guys and the Navy is the good ones. Usopp on the side couldn't help but complain. It seems so, Luffy yelled, holding his head. Then we're welcome. Luen looked at Nami with amusement as her eyes sparkled. As long as Nami heard that it didn't cost any money, she was more excited than anyone else. But this is not Nami's fault. After all, since she was 10 years old, she has been burdened with earning 100 million Baileys to redeem her hometown. In Nami's eyes, money represents the hope of her hometown. Over the years, this has become a habit. Compared with Nami's enthusiasm, Luen was too lazy to even release his domineering aura for a mere Finn Beauty. One had checked Finn Beauty's entries before, and there was not even one entry above purple, which was of no value to Luen. Looking at Luen, Nami cutely stuck out her tongue, which was very adorable. Luen's act of taking care of her emotions made Nami feel warm inside. Yes, I should. After saying this, Finn Beauty hurriedly took his female companion on a small boat and left here, rowing towards Barati. Just consider it as losing money to avoid disaster. Fortunately, this pirate group doesn't have many people, so it shouldn't cost too much money. Finn Beauty thought secretly. Let's go over too. It's free. It's free. Nami raised her hands cutely. Someone's treating us. Let's go eat. Luffy grinned, his saliva dripping from his mouth. Rubber. Just as Nami was about to command Zoro and others to bring the ship over, she saw an impatient Luffy grabbing the sheep's head on the bow of the Mary with both hands and stretching his hands violently. Rocket! Luffy flew directly to Barati. Boom! With a loud bang, Luffy directly blasted a big hole in Barati. This idiot, Zoro, covered his head. Don't worry about Luffy. He'll take care of it himself. Let's go order some food. Even without the Navy's artillery attack in the original work, Luffy, who was anxious to eat, still smashed a big hole in Baratai. One was already used to this and smiled at Nami. May I invite you to dinner, beautiful lady? Luen extended his right hand gracefully. Nami was a little dazed at first, as if time had returned to the scene when she first met Luen. That day on the merchant ship, Luen did the same thing, extending his hand to her and gracefully inviting her to dance. Certainly. Then Nami smiled sweetly and placed her slender hand on Luen's right hand. But the feeling is completely different. Feeling the warmth of Rune's palm on her hand, Nami pursed her red lips. Dear guest, do you have a reservation? As soon as I entered the restaurant, a chef wearing a black chef uniform and a pink scarf around his neck came over with an exaggerated smile on his face. He's the one who pays for our consumption. Luen motioned to Finn Beauty, who was already seated. Dear guest, this way, please. Seeing that the captain of the Navy headquarters did not deny it and was even a little afraid of this group of people, Patty suddenly felt that a big order was coming, and his face was about to cramp from smiling. This menu. After Luen sat down, he took a look at the menu. Well, what would you like to eat? The taste here is all good. Patty was all smiles. 5 first. Luen smiled fondly. Puff! Upon hearing this, Finn Beauty, who had just taken a sip of water, immediately spit it out. 5. Patty was also stunned. This was the first time he had ever ordered dishes by book. The prices of the dishes here are not cheap. What are you standing there for? Why don't you go serve the food? Captain of the headquarters, Iron Fist Finn Beauty, will you be shortchanged? One looked at Finn Beauty. Finn Beauty felt his heart bleeding at this moment, but he didn't dare to say no. He could feel that a terrifying aura had locked him down, and he couldn't escape at all. Is this the power of King Luen? How terrifying! How could such a monster appear in the East China Sea? And he had the bad luck to run into it. While Finn Beauty's heart was bleeding, he had no choice but to accept his fate. It was certain that he would bleed heavily, but at least he would not have come here in vain if he could completely control the woman in front of him. Finn Beauty smiled. At this time, a man with yellow hair, wearing a black suit, and, most conspicuously, with curled eyebrows, walked towards Finn Beauty with a bottle of red wine. It's Sanji, the chef of the Straw Hat Pirates in the original work. Check the entry. Seeing Sanji, Luen thought to himself. Chapter 40. Be good to her. Ch 40. Entry. Sanji Blackfoot, dark purple. Modified exoskeleton, adaptive, unawakened. Blackfoot, dark purple as a chef, his hands are his life, so he tries not to use them in combat, which has led to his training to develop powerful kicking skills. Modified exoskeleton, adaptive, unawakened. The Vinsmoke family has undergone a bloodline factor transformation. After the exoskeleton is awakened, the body becomes extremely tough and has superhuman recovery ability. Even broken bones can be quickly recovered. The body is incredibly hard and invulnerable to swords and guns. At the same time, you will gain the transformation strength, which will greatly improve your strength. Although Sanji is one of the 3 strongest fighters in the Straw Hat Pirates in the original work, strictly speaking, he is not a combatant. Chef is Sanji's position. Like Zoro, his position is a pure fighter. This is indeed the case. Before awakening the exoskeleton, Sanji's strength was actually 1 level behind Zoro. However, after the exoskeleton awakened, Sanji's combat power was greatly enhanced. The exoskeleton can even withstand a sword attack from one of the big names in the Beast Pirates, Play Quinn, and break the blade. Its defense and attack power are even greater than Sanji's own armament haki. Even if you have a broken bone, you can recover immediately by beating your body. After awakening the exoskeleton, Sanji defeated Plague, Quinn, and reached the combat power of the Vice Emperor level. The strength of the exoskeleton also depends on Sanji's strength when he awakens, so the unawakened exoskeleton is in an adaptive state. When Sanji awakens, it will display the corresponding entry level based on Sanji's strength at that time. This exoskeleton transformation entry combines all the bloodline factors transformed by the Vinsmoke family. Vinsmoke judges transformation of Sanji's bloodline factor includes 4 major transformations, namely strength, recovery ability, exoskeleton, and cold heart. Sanji's transformation only retained the first 3 without losing his emotions. Strength includes the all-round improvement of power and speed. Once this exoskeleton transformation entry is awakened, not only can you obtain an exoskeleton, but you can also get a huge boost in strength, speed, and recovery. The unawakened modified exoskeleton entries can also be loaded, and the entry system can light it up, just like when Luen gained the Conqueror's haki. Luen est up. After awakening, the power displayed by the exoskeleton is even stronger than Sanji's own armament domineering. With the upper limit of my future physical strength and this exoskeleton, my future physical strength should be comparable to Big Mom's steel balloon, or even stronger. After lighting up the modified exoskeleton entry, Luen can also obtain the strength and recovery power injected by Vinsmoke Judge contained in this entry. Judging from the performance of the original work, this entry is definitely a gold level entry. We will know the specific level after we pull Sanji on board and complete the loading. As Sanji has not yet learned dietary supplements, cooking as a purely life skill does not have an entry. But Luen is not a cook, and he didn't intend to learn Sanji's cooking skills. All you need to do is taste Sanji's cooking. At this time, Finn Booty, who wanted to show off in front of women through Sanji, had a conflict with Sanji. Finn Booty, who smashed all the dishes on the table and threatened to pay the restaurant no less, touched Sanji's sore spot. On the sea, can money fill your stomach? Sanji's face looked extremely ugly. He grabbed Finn Booty's face and lifted him up. Sanji, who has experienced hunger and despair, knows too well what hunger feels like. Bang! At this moment, the ceiling of the restaurant suddenly cracked. An old man with a prosthetic leg and a chef's hat fell down with Luffy. My ceiling. It's all your fault, you little brat. Barati's boss, Zeph, glared at Luffy. This brat not only smashed a big hole in his kitchen and almost killed him, but now he has also smashed the ceiling of his store. It was obviously you who broke it, uncle. Luffy yelled. I'm going to contact the government to completely destroy this restaurant that treats its customers like this. Finbooty's face was distorted at this time, and he yelled. Then I'll finish you off right here. Sanji's face suddenly turned gloomy, and he walked towards Finbooty. Boss, stop arguing and stop Sanji. The chefs rushed over and stopped Sanji, shouting at the same time. Hey, Sanji, are you causing trouble again? Zeph turned around and looked at Sanji. Stop talking nonsense, you old man. Sanji calmed down a lot when he saw Zeph, but he still didn't hold back. Who are you talking to? Are you trying to ruin my restaurant? Zeph was furious and kicked Sanji hard in the face with his prosthetic limb. Snort. Finbooty smiled, feeling relieved. But then, bang! You two, get out of here. Japu's prosthetic leg kicked Finby hard to the ground. What's going on? Even the boss is behaving like this. Are these guys really chefs? They're just like pirates. Finbooty fell to the ground, cold sweat on his forehead. Hey, remember to pay the bill before you leave. And a faint voice came, which made Finbooty break out in a cold sweat. What bad luck he had today. Luen, you guys are here. Luffy looked at Luen and the others and was overjoyed. Please help me pay the bill too. I smashed the kitchen and hit the uncle. The uncle asked me to work for a year to pay off the bill. Luffy ran to Luen and clasped his hands together in a begging. Isn't it all because of your own stupid actions? When it comes to money, Nami doesn't give it at all. The commotion here also attracted Sanji's attention. The moment he saw Nami, Sanji immediately ran over. It is fate that brought us together, beautiful lady. Sanji took out a rose, but then froze. I saw the beautiful lady in front of me holding the arm of the handsome man next to her and smiling sweetly. Crack! Sanji felt like his heart was broken. He is heartbroken. Hey, are you okay? Usopp spoke up when he saw Sanji with a heartbroken expression on his face. It's okay. I just regret that I didn't meet this lady earlier. You must treat this beautiful lady well. Sanji looked at Luen with tears in his eyes. It is true that he is lustful, but under Zeph's teaching, Sanji has absolute respect for women. Since this beautiful lady has chosen this man, he can only give his blessing. Being unreasonable is not what a man does. Of course I will treat her well, right, Nami? Luen looked at Nami, who was holding his arm, and smiled. Luen could feel Nami's intentions. The moment Sanji took out the rose, Nami subconsciously made this move. At this moment, Nami's pretty face turned slightly red, but she did not let go of Luen's arm. Instead, she subconsciously pulled it tighter. Bang! Just as the restaurant was in chaos, a Navy soldier rushed in. Captain Finbooty, this is bad. We let the pirate Crick's men escape. The Navy soldier's face was covered in cold sweat. What did you say? How is that possible? When we caught him 3 days ago, he was almost starving to death, and we didn't give him anything to eat afterwards. Finbooty's face was full of disbelief. Crick and his gang, the strongest pirate group in the East Sea. When the other guests in the restaurant heard the name, they immediately became agitated. The strongest pirate group in the East Sea. Luffy looked puzzled. We are so sorry we bang. With a gunshot, the Navy soldier fell to the ground. Behind him, a figure holding a pistol slowly walked in. Chapter 41. Genes engraved in the bones. This is the restaurant, right? A man of medium build, wearing a gray coat, holding a pistol with sloppy hair and beard and thick lips staggered in. He walked to an empty table and sat down, putting his legs on the table, as if this action took all his strength. Anything is fine. Give me something to eat. Ajin spoke weakly. Sir, this restaurant does not welcome poor people. May I ask if you have any money? Paddy walked towards Akin with an exaggerated smile on his face, rubbing his hands together. If this is a restaurant, bring the food up quickly. Do you want to eat bullets? Ajin's face looked very ugly, and he pointed the gun at Paddy. No money, huh? Patty's smile suddenly disappeared. Bang! Patty crossed his hands into fists and smashed a kin and the table together. If you're not a guest, get out of here right now. Then he punched and kicked Ajin wildly. When the guests around saw that the chef of this restaurant beat the member of the Click Pirates like this, they immediately burst into cheers. I've had enough. What the hell is wrong with this restaurant? I will never come here again. Finn Beauty, who was lying on the ground, saw Ajin, whom he was very afraid of, being beaten like this by a chef, and cold sweat immediately broke out on his forehead. Then I wanted to leave the restaurant. However, when he crawled to the door of the restaurant, Finn Beauty felt a terrifying aura locking onto him, and he swallowed hard. That is from the King Luen. Finn Beauty immediately left behind all the money he had and then crawled away. This guy is quite rich. Nami put the money away and smiled sweetly. You guys have to pay yourselves. I'll only pay for Luen and me. Nami then looked at Zoro and Usopp. The expressions on Zoro and Usopp's faces, who were watching the fun, suddenly froze. Isn't this the money that Luen got? How did it become Nami's? But looking at Rune with a smile on his face, Zoro and Usopp thought that they should find a way to pay themselves. Looking at Nami, Luen smiled indulgently. But Luen also knew that Nami often said this, but at the critical moment, she would still pay. Luffy noticed that the chef named Sanji walked to the kitchen silently. Guests, please continue your meal. After teaching Ajin a lesson, Patty put on an exaggerated smile again, winning cheers from the guests present. Then Patty threw a kin straight out the back door of the restaurant. Don't let me see you again. Patty snorted and slammed the door shut. Hey, are you hungry? Luffy came out and stood at the fence on the second floor of the restaurant. He looked at Jean, who was dying on the deck, and spoke. Shut up, I'm not hungry. Although Ajin was dying, he still had a lot of courage. But his rumbling stomach betrayed him. Crack! The back door of the restaurant suddenly opened. Sanji brought a plate of fried rice and placed it in front of Jean. Eat it. Sanji lit a cigarette and looked up at the sky, not looking at Jin's current state of distress. Quick, take it away. I won't eat charity. Ajin looked at the fragrant fried rice and swallowed hard. It's up to you to decide whether to eat or not. But to me, anyone who is hungry is a guest. Sanji exhaled a puff of smoke. No one knows better than me how terrible it is to be at sea without food and water. Sanji's eyes were complicated. He was once trapped on an isolated rock in the sea with the boss here, who was a pirate at the time, Zeph, and it took 48 days before they were rescued. No one can understand the horror of hunger more personally than Sanji. So from then on, for Sanji, anyone who is hungry, no matter who they are, is his guest, and he will cook for them. Even if there are grudges, they should be resolved after eating. I understand if you don't want to eat these for the sake of your dignity, but if you eat them, you can survive, right? Sanji turned to look at Jean, the corner of his mouth curled up. The next moment, Ajin picked up the plate and started eating with big mouthfuls. It's delicious. It's so delicious. I thought I was going to die. Ajin ate while crying. Is it the most delicious in the world? Sanji showed a smile that was typical of Sanji. Whenever he saw the expressions of hungry people after they finished eating his food, Sanji could remember the excitement he felt when he took the first bite of food after being rescued. That was the hope of life. Crack, have you found a suitable chef? Luffy. At this time, Luen opened the door, walked to Luffy's side, looked at Luffy and smiled. Yes, I found a good cook. Luffy grinned. Hey, cook, come be a cook in my pirate group. Luffy then laughed at Sanji. Sanji looked up at this time and saw Luffy with a confused look on his face. You are the man chosen by that beautiful lady, but you are a pirate? Sanji then saw Rune next to Luffy and his expression froze. Yes, my name is Luen, and I'm Luffy's partner. How about joining us? One looked at Sanji and smiled. Looking at Sanji, who treated all hungry guests as guests and whom he would feed first, even if they might bring a greater threat, Luen not only did not think it was stupid, but admired it instead. As a chef, the most important thing is to feed people. This is the duty of this position. Even if the person is a stranger or even a possible enemy, as long as the person is hungry, he will cook for him. This is Sanji's magnanimity. To survive in this ocean, everyone has different persistence. Maybe some of it may seem stupid to others, but as long as you have your own capacity and keep persisting, you can become a strong person. Moreover, although Luen, who came from the Blue Star Dragon country, had not experienced the famine years, when he was a child, the supplies were not so abundant. Wanting to eat the food you want is also an occasional luxury. The obsession with having enough food seems to be engraved in the genes of every dragon citizen. Whenever I meet someone I know, the first thing I ask after greeting them is, "Have you eaten?" If not, go eat. Even if you encounter a big problem, you have to wait until you have filled your stomach before doing anything. Even if there was a life or death battle ahead, they had to eat their fill first. Just like Luffy shouted in the original story, "When you're hungry, eat." Chapter 42, Go with them. Luen? This name sounds familiar. Sanji first murmured when he heard Rune's name. I seem to have heard some guests discussing this name. However, for Sanji, the only things that interested him were beauties and food. He didn't care at all at that time. He was also not interested at all whether Luen had any other identities. Compared to other identities, what Sanji envied most was that Luen was chosen by that beautiful lady. I refuse. Immediately afterwards, Sanji rejected Luffy's invitation. I refuse. I didn't expect Luffy to be more excited than Sanji. Reject what? Sanji was a little confused. I refuse you to refuse me. You are a good cook, so just become a pirate with me. Luffy said seriously. Can you please listen to what others say? Sanji couldn't help himself and transformed into a fanged image. What's going on in the mind of this guy in the straw hat? Are you pirates too? Why are you gathering your companions? At this moment, Ajin seemed to have thought of some painful memories, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Yes, we are going to the Grand Line. Luffy raised his head and said loudly. Ajin's face turned extremely pale, even uglier than when he was hungry just now. Since you're still looking for a cook, there may not be enough people to go to the Grand Line. Ajin said suddenly. This guy is the sixth one. Luffy pointed at Sanji and laughed. Why include me? Sanji transforms into a fanged image. I'm a kin from the Crick Pirates. I don't think you are bad people. Let me give you a piece of advice. It's best not to go to the Grand Line. You're still young, and there is no need to rush. The Grand Line is just an ocean after all, so how can you not be a pirate if you're a pirate there? Akin looked at Luffy and Luen. You went to the Grand Line and ended up getting scared? Luen looked at Ajin. This is not a mockery, but rather a bit of pity. The Crick Pirates were also unlucky. As soon as they entered the Grand Line, they encountered one of the sealing forces in the pirate world. One of the 7 warlords of the sea, the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye Jurikol Mihawk. I still don't know why he could be chased all the way to the East China Sea by a figure of Hawkeye's level. Faced with Luen's words, Ajin had no way to refute. He was indeed frightened. That man is not human. Have you been to the Grand Line? Do you know anything about it? Luffy looked at Jean with great interest. No, I don't know anything and I don't understand anything. That's why it's scary. Ajin covered his forehead in pain. They really hadn't even seen much of the Grand Line before their huge fleet was completely destroyed by that man. Well, never mind. I'm definitely going to the Grand Line anyway. Luffy looked at Akin's painful expression and didn't intend to ask any further questions. He just grinned. Anyway, I'm just giving you some advice. Ajin smiled helplessly and then stood up. Well, goodbye, Mr. Sanji. Thank you so much. You are my savior. This fried rice is the best meal I have ever had in my life. Can I come next time? Jean jumped onto the raft he came from and looked at Sanji with a grateful smile. You can come anytime you're hungry. Sanji smiled. Hey, the odd job boy. At this moment, a loud shout was heard. Uncle! Luffy looked at Zeph, who appeared behind them, with cold sweat on his forehead. Luffy is poor and has low aspirations. He owes the other party money, so he is very afraid to face Zeph at this time. I'm so sorry, Mr. Sanji. You'll be scolded for letting someone like me eat for free. Jean looked at Sanji, his face full of apology. What are you talking about? Sanji calmly threw the plate and spoon that Jean had eaten from into the sea. This way, there will be no more evidence or reason to be scolded. Let's go, Jean. Sanji's lips curled up. Luffy grinned. He wanted Sanji to board his ship more and more. And Zep just watched coldly. The relationship between him and Sanji is like that of a father and son. And as a chef, His philosophy is the same as Sanji's. How could he be angry because Sanji let this pirate eat for free? Sanji, that brat, is just trying to make that freeloading pirate feel at ease. Don't get caught by the Navy again, Jean. Looking at Jean, who was spreading the sail and preparing to leave, Sanji smiled. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanji. I will never forget your kindness. On the raft, Jean knelt down and bowed to Sanji. Then the sails sailed away. Come to think of it, you've been invited by them, right? Sanji, why don't you just follow them and become a pirate? You are not needed here anyway. At this time, Japu suddenly spoke. Huh? What did you say, old man? Sanji frowned when he heard that. That's great. We got permission, so you can become a pirate with us. Luffy was overjoyed. I'll say it again. I'm not going to be a pirate. You old bastard. I'm a sous chef of this restaurant. Sanji yelled with his eye twitching. Japu said nothing, but just glanced at Luen. When he saw Luen, Japu didn't recognize him. After all, a photo is just a photo. Combined with simple photos, even if the real person appears in front of you, not many people can recognize him/her immediately at first glance. But the moment he heard Luen's name, Zeph recognized it. The new super rookie in the East China Sea, the owner of the Conqueror's Hockey, King Luen, although with Zeph's strength and experience, even after sailing on the Grand Line for a year, he still didn't know what kind of power Conqueror's Hockey was. But in the era when Zapu sailed, the sea had not yet completely formed the current balance of power between the Navy headquarters, the 7 warlords of the sea, and the 4 emperors. It was very chaotic. Moreover, the strong men of the older generation have not yet completely died out, and there are a lot of various news. During his sailing days, what impressed him most was the jailbreak of the legendary pirate Golden Lion. Rumor has it that the legendary pirate Golden Lion possesses the power of Conqueror's Hockey. If this is the case, then it is understandable that the World Economic Times commented on this young man, that the future king of the ocean is about to be born. A captain recognized by such a man, this silly-looking boy named Luffy should not be a simple person. Even though they have been together for a short time, Zeph can see that Luffy is different from ordinary villain pirates and is a pirate with dreams. Zeph felt relieved to leave Sanji to a guy like this. Sanji should not bear the guilt and gratitude for the time when they were trapped and he cut off his feet and ate them due to food shortage and left the food for Sanji and waste his time here with this old man. Sanji should pursue his dream. Only the Grand Line can make Sanji's dream come true. No matter what you say, I will be a chef in this restaurant until you die. Sanji and Zeph finished arguing and finally yelled, I won't die. I'll live another 100 years. Zeph turned and walked into the restaurant. Zeph, who knew Sanji's personality well, knew that his words would not make Sanji leave. He said this just to tell Luffy and Rune that he had no problem taking Sanji away. Whether they can take Sanji away depends on their ability. Looking at Luffy, who continued to invite Sanji, Luen then turned his head and looked at the sea. Ajin's raft gradually disappeared from sight. But Luen knew that soon he would come here with his captain, Click. Along with it came the man, the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, Dracula Mihawk. Not only Zoro is looking for Hawkeye, I also have something to ask Hawkeye. Luen, the corners of his mouth curled up. Chapter 43, Mihawk's Eagle Eye. Pre-order required. CH 43, today it is foggy. 4 days have passed. When can we set off? Do we really have to stay here for a year? On the Mary, Usopp's face was full of helplessness. Who knows? Look, Luen isn't in a hurry. Zoro wiped the Wado Ikamanji and didn't care about the towel. Luen, please think of a solution. Usopp looked at Rune, who was leaning against the fence with his eyes closed, enjoying the sea breeze, and put his hands together in prayer. As the captain, Luffy will have to deal with any trouble he gets into, and the chef hasn't confirmed he'll join yet. Rune, who was increasing his hockey through Born for the Sea, Super Gold, opened his eyes, looked at Usopp, and smiled. Hawkeye is coming. At this moment, Luen must seize every moment to improve his dominance. For my own plan. Hearing what Luen said, Usopp was like a deflated ball. Hey, just at this moment, Luffy walked out of the restaurant holding a pile of leftover food. Hey, Luffy, when can we set off? Usopp shouted, wait for me a moment. I'll ask the uncle to try again. Luffy poked his head out from the pile of garbage he was holding. Just as he finished speaking, Luffy heard something and looked towards the sea in the distance. A huge ship slowly appeared in the fog. There's an hourglass on the bow of Black Panther, and next to the fat skull face on the pirate flag. This flag is known to everyone in the East China Sea. Yes, it's the Click Pirates. Why would the overlord of the East China Sea come here? The guests in the restaurant fell into panic. Hey, Patty, Crick's really here. You'll keep him away. A chef looked at Patty with cold sweat on his face and yelled. Why? He is a pirate leader with 5,000 subordinates. Why would he come here to seek revenge for just one of his subordinates? Patty thought of a kin who had been taught a lesson by him and held his head and yelled, Hey, this is not good. Run away. Usopp looked at the huge sailboat, holding his head and screaming, How come this sailboat is so big? Nami was also shocked, but when Nami saw Luen stepping in front of her, her heart warmed up, and her timid nature was immediately replaced by warmth. What a big ship! Luffy looked at the ship and exclaimed, Is it that guy Ajin who came to you to repay his kindness? Luffy grinned as he looked at Sanji, who heard the noise and walked over to him. I don't think so, but it's a little strange. Sanji's eyes fixed him. Luffy was a little confused, but the next moment, the huge ship completely emerged from the fog and was exposed to everyone. What a shabby boat he was on. 360 Luffy looks at the damaged ship. It doesn't look like a cannon attack, but it doesn't look like human sabotage either. Looking at the scar in the middle of the ship, which is the most conspicuous part, Sanji analyzed. Zoro, that crack, does it look like it was cut by a sword? Luen looked at the most conspicuous horizontal crack on the ship, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He felt domineering and began to feel a little excited. Cut out by a knife? How was that possible? Zoro retorted subconsciously. How could a knife cut open such a large sailboat? But upon closer inspection, Zoro was somewhat silent, because that crack really looked like it was cut by a knife. Could it be that there is such a swordsman who can do such a thing? Thinking of what Johnny said, that there was news about the man with hawk eyes he had been looking for, Zoro held the Kazuchi Ikemanji even tighter. At this time, two figures came down from this huge sailboat. One of them was Jean, who was rescued by Sanji 4 days ago. At this time, Jean was carrying a tall but weak figure. It is the so-called East China Sea overlord. Click, please, give me food and water. I have money. As soon as he entered the restaurant, Click spoke weakly after learning that Click had not eaten for many days and had no strength left. Patty, who was terrified just now, suddenly changed his expression and yelled at him to get out. Let this guy eat his fill, and I don't know what will happen. But then, Sanji took a portion of fried rice from the kitchen and placed it in front of Click. Sanji proved his magnanimity with his actions. Anyone who is hungry is his customer. But after eating, bang, a heavy elbow hit the unprepared Sanji in the throat, causing him to fall heavily to the ground. Chief, this is different from what we agreed. Mr. Sanji is my savior. Crack. Ajin, who tried to stop him, also had his arm broken by Click. The guests in the restaurant immediately screamed and ran away, but Click did not stop them. The chefs, led by Patty, wanted to defeat Click, but were defeated in an instant. Prepare 100 servings of food for me. I still have hungry subordinates on my ship. Click shouted coldly. Delusion. The chefs at Barty certainly didn't want to. But then, Sanji, who was knocked to the ground by Click, stood up and walked towards the kitchen. What are you going to do? Sanji, Patty roared. I don't have time to chat with you here. I still have to prepare meals for 100 people. Sanji wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Swish. BHBG. The chefs pointed sharp kitchen utensils at Sanji. Are you a spy for the Click Pirates, Sanji? A chef roared. Of course I know that the other person is a hopeless bastard, but I'm a chef, and as long as someone is hungry, I have to cook for him. The rest is not something I consider. Even if they come to attack here, I will defeat the bastards who have had enough food. Sanji said calmly. Here, this should be enough for 100 people. As Sanji and the chefs were confronting each other, Zeph placed a large package on the ground. You are red-footed Japu. Click recognized Zeph's identity, but then saw Zeph's prosthetic limb. However, you no longer have that kind of skills now. Hand over your logbook of 1 year's voyage on the Grand Line. With the Grand Line's logbook, I will gather my men again enter the Grand Line, and seize One Piece. To dominate this sea. Click looked at Zeph and shouted, "Wait a minute. I'm the one who's going to be the Pirate King." Luffy, who had just been watching, immediately walked forward and shouted at Click after hearing this. "Get out of here, you idiot. You are no match for him." Patty said quickly, "I can't back down. That's the only thing." Luffy showed a smile that was typical of his generosity. "I can't pretend I didn't hear you, kid. This isn't a game," Click said solemnly. "I'm serious." Luffy and Click confront each other. That's the Devil's Sea, where even my 5,000-man pirate fleet was destroyed in just 7 days. How could a brat like you survive there? Crick roared. "Since you want to die, why not let me kill you here?" Click's shoulder armor opened, revealing the cannon inside. Luffy also rolled up his sleeves, ready to fight Crick. "Want to fight, Luffy?" Zoro's voice came. "Do you need help, Luffy?" Luen raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Click. "I don't know what this guy did to cause Hawkeye to chase him here." "Luen, you guys are here?" "No need, just watch from there." Luffy looked at Luen and the others and refused. Luffy must defeat everyone who wants to claim to be the Pirate King. Click looked at Zoro, then at Zeph. Finally, he looked at Luen. This guy has a completely different aura from the kid in front of him. Just by standing there, you can feel that this guy is very strong. The corner of Click's mouth twitched, and then he put away his weapon. "Wait until your subordinates have recovered their combat effectiveness, and then use your absolute numerical advantage to kill these guys. I'll fight you later. I have to go feed my men first." Crick picked up the food and said, "To read the exciting novels, go to Falun Novel Network. If you want to escape, do it now. My goal is the Grand Line's logbook and this ship." Click turned and walked towards the huge ship outside the door. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Sanji. I really didn't want things to turn out like this." After Click left, Akin fell to his knees. "No need for your apology, kid. The chef in our restaurant just did what he wanted." Before Sanji could say anything, Zeph spoke up. "Boss, why are you still protecting Sanji at this time? Sanji is going to destroy this store. If we don't give Crick food, then nothing will happen, right?" The chef's presence shouted continuously. "Shut up. Do you know what it feels like to be starving to death? Think about the difference between you and Sanji as a chef." Zep roared. Many chefs were confused and didn't know what the boss was talking about. "If you have time to complain, you might as well leave this restaurant through the back door." Zeph pointed to the back door of the restaurant. "This is the store where we work. We have nowhere else to go anyway." Although they didn't know what the boss meant by the difference between them and Sanji, many chefs still took up weapons. "Hey, you have just witnessed the leader's power. Why are you going to die?" Ajin shouted with cold sweat on his forehead. "Hey, Jean." At this time, Sanji came over and kicked a fallen table to make it stand up. "Let me make it clear to you first. It is my duty as a chef to feed the hungry people. However, they who are coming next are the well-fed invaders. Even if I defeat all your companions later, you can't complain." Sanji stepped on the table and raised his head with a gloomy look in his eyes. "If you want to take this store away, even if it's you, I will kill you without hesitation." Ajin swallowed hard. "Humph, you saved the person, but in the end you still have to kill him. I really admire you, Sanji." Patty didn't understand Sanji's behavior and said sarcastically, "Stop talking nonsense. You stinky cook." Sanji lit a cigarette. "I told you this guy is pretty good." Luffy pointed at Sanji and smiled at Rune and the others. "Who cares if he's good or not? We should escape quickly." Usopp's timid gene kicked in and his legs started shaking. "Calm down, you guy." In Ziliobu village, I was so proud of Luen's praise that I shouted that I wanted to become a warrior on the sea. Zoro knocked Usopp on the head with the scabbard. "Of course I will take action at the critical moment." Usopp said with trembling legs. It seemed unbelievable. "Then I'll leave it to you, Usopp." But Luen patted Usopp on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Usopp is indeed not soft at the critical moment. Leave it to me." Usopp saw that this was a true pirate that he admired, and since Luen had said so, he could only stand up and cry. "Hey, Jean, what on earth did you encounter on the Grand Line?" Luffy looked at Jean, who had not left yet. "When I think back on what happened on the 7th day of entering the Grand Line, I can't tell whether it was real or a dream." Ajin's sweat couldn't stop flowing down. "It's incredible that just one man could defeat a fleet of 50 ships." "What? Except for Luen. Everyone showed a shocked expression. Even Luffy, who is a thick-skinned man, opened his mouth wide. With the appearance of that man, the fleet's ships sank one after another. If we hadn't been lucky enough to encounter a storm, I'm afraid even the main ship would have sunk completely. Ajin covered his forehead and closed his eyes in pain. That man with eagle eyes who seems to be able to kill people with just his eyes. What did you say? Zoro's pupils suddenly shrank, and he reacted greatly. The one who can do this must be the Hawkeye man. Zeph said solemnly. Hawkeye, my hawk. Zoro was holding the Wado Ikamanji, and his whole body was shaking. Do you know him, Zoro? Luffy looked up at Zoro. It was the first time he saw Zoro react so strongly. He is the man I'm looking for when I go out to sea. Solon said, but one person can defeat an entire fleet. Isn't that too much of an exaggeration, Luen? Usopp looked to Luen, who had the most experience, for help, hoping to get some comfort. The Grand Line is such a place. Nothing is strange when it happens. Luendeo, red and black, flickered in his eyes. I have a disease that will kill me if I go to the Grand Line. Usopp clutched his heart in pain. At this time, Luffy lowered his head and his whole body was trembling. Hey, Luffy, do you also think we shouldn't go there? Usopp looked at Luffy and thought he got his approval, but it's really exciting. This is the way to go. Luffy shouted excitedly. You should at least consider your own safety. Usopp transforms into a fanged image. But now my goal is completely locked on the Grand Line. Just like you said, Luen, only in the Grand Line can I realize my ambition there. You can meet the man named Hawkeye. Zoro smiled like a beast. Isn't that stupid? Sanji suddenly spoke up. For some reason, he felt a little displeased with this green-haired guy. I think you are the type to die first. Sanji said, that's true, but the word stupid is redundant. Zoro's mouth turned down. He felt inexplicably displeased with the man with curly eyebrows. When I decided to become the world's greatest swordsman, I had already put life and death aside. The only person who can say this decision is stupid is me. Solon said, me too. Luffy immediately raised his hand. As a brave warrior at sea, I certainly am one too. Usopp said, trembling all over. You are lying again. Zoro looked at Usopp helplessly. It's really stupid. Sanji lowered his head and said, snort. Zeph smiled. Zeph could see that Sanji was kind of eager to join them. Do you know what's going on right now? Parked at the door is the huge sailing ship of the admiral of the pirate fleet, Captain Click. Patty yelled, is now the time to talk about dreams? Meanwhile, Click, who had fed and watered his men and given them a new lease of life, was ordering his men to seize Barati. Next second, boom! Crick's ship was completely cut in two. The sinking of the huge sailing ship caused huge waves, which made Barati shake violently. Here I come. Luen, the corners of his mouth curled up. While I walked out of the restaurant, I saw a man sitting elegantly on a boat that looked like a coffin. They chased me all the way from the Grand Line to here. Click looked at the man and roared uncontrollably. That man is... Japu's pupils shrank. One of the 7 warlords of the sea, the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, Jiraco Mihawk. Luen est mut cœur d'ep. Check the entry. This is my post. The Doom 2004 post views. 3 chapter 44. No need for more words. King vs. King. Request a pre-order. CH44. Entries. Hawkeye Armament Hockey, Super Gold. Observation Hockey, Super Gold. World's Greatest Swordsman, Super Gold. Conqueror Hockey, Super Gold. Armament Hockey, Super Gold Hockey that can enhance one's own defense and attack power. It can capture the entity of the ability user. Observation Hockey, Super Gold, it can make a person's 5 senses become sharper and thus derive super senses, being able to detect the breath and emotional changes of surrounding creatures. It can also be used to predict and avoid danger. When trained to the extreme, one can briefly see the future. The world's greatest swordsman, Super Gold, no need to say more. In this sea, anyone who uses a sword is the strongest. Conqueror's Hockey, Super Gold completely master the Conqueror's Hockey entanglement and possess the power to be the king of this ocean. This is the strongest person who truly stands at the top of this ocean. The world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye, Juricalmia has an entry. Looking at the golden color all around, Luen's lips curled up with a hint of excitement. There is no doubt that Hawkeye's strength is at the peak level, Emperor level. Sure enough, this man completely mastered the power of dominance. In the original work, the main reason why Buggy was able to become one of the 4 emperors was because of the man in front of him. Hawkeye Mihawk is the only man among the 4 emperors pirate group who is not a 4 emperor, but whose bounty exceeds that of the 4 emperors themselves. As for Buggy's so-called second father crocodile, it can be seen from his later bounty, which was far lower than Hawkeye's than in the eyes of the Navy. His strength was not strong and was far from reaching the level of the top strong men in this ocean. The Navy also made it clear that it was because of its recognition of Crocodile's strategy that it offered the bounty. Based on his strength alone, even if Crocodile made it to the finals, he wouldn't even get a bounty of 1.9 billion. It can be said that the reason why the Cross Guild in the original work was recognized as one of the 4 Emperor's pirate groups was because of Hawkeye and Jiraco Mihawk. Without a peak Emperor-level strongman, no matter how lucky Buggy is, he can never become one of the 4 Emperors. Coming to this world, and finally meeting the strongest man in this ocean, the domineering aura in Luen's body was faintly boiling at this moment. Hawkeye Mihawk. Zoro walked quickly to Luen's side, his body trembling slightly. This is not fear, but excitement. And nervous. After all, Zoro at this time had just set out to sea and did not have the magnanimity he had later in the original work. Facing the strongest person in the world, even if it was his goal to go out to sea to challenge, he couldn't control the nervousness in his heart. Luen, I have driven the boat to a safe place. At this time, Nami drove a small boat and jumped from the boat to Luen's side. Thanks for your hard work. Luen suppressed the domineering aura boiling in his body and smiled at Nami. As expected, Nami did not choose to leave at this time like in the original novel and face Arlong and his gang alone. Asshole, what grudge do we have against you? Why are you attacking us like this? At this moment, a member of the Clique Pirates broke down and yelled at Hawkeye. Just to kill time. Hawkeye said calmly, "Stop joking." The minion roared and shot Hawkeye with both hands. The black knife behind Hawkeye was suddenly pulled out. It was obviously a heavy blade, but in Hawkeye's hand, it seemed so soft. Squeak! The 2 bullets' trajectories were changed instantly. Luen's Eisnerhut. Hawkeye's swordsmanship is different from Zoro's bold and aggressive one. It is a combination of hardness and softness. Ordinary bullets without domineering aura are as fragile as dust in front of the black sword in Hawkeye's hand, which is known as the world's strongest black sword and one of the 12 supreme swords. Especially, this strongest black sword is in the hands of the world's greatest swordsman. But Hawkeye is able to change the trajectory of the bullet with the sharpest blade without cutting it. It can be said that Hawkeye has controlled every part of the sword to the extreme and can split mountains and rocks, or move 1,000 pounds with a little effort. This combination of hardness and softness in swordsmanship is definitely a nightmare for other swordsmen and strong men in close combat. A swordsman, even a great swordsman, can make terrifying flying slashes, but the real killer move is to kill at close range. After all, domineering aura and physical strength are limited even for the strongest generals. How much domineering aura and physical strength would be consumed to be entangled in a large-scale flying and slashing attack? This is why Hawkeye's slash during the war at the top could be blocked by Diamond Jaws. Because there was no domineering aura on it at all, it was just a tentative attack from Hawkeye. And the flying slash is, after all, a long-range attack that is separated from the body, and its power is still not as strong as that of a swordsman swinging his sword directly. Seeing Hawkeye show off just a few of his skills with your own eyes was enough to highlight the terrifying nature of his swordsmanship. Luen pulled Nami behind him, and the red and black in his eyes began to boil. I clearly aimed. The minion's face was full of disbelief. He caused the bullet to miss, and he used the blade of the knife to slightly change the trajectory of the bullet. Zoro stepped forward and said in a deep voice. Then, without further ado, Zoro walked towards Hawkeye. "Hey, who are you?" The henchman who—
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on EuroAudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. R18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.